Chapter 1328. As the leader of this small group, Duo had only seen a beautiful bowl once. When the tribes held a grand Buddhist meeting, he participated. The small golden bowl was displayed. At that time, it shone brightly under the sunlight. The whole bowl was golden, and the pattern on it made people not dare to look directly at it. The bowl in his hand at this time was different from the one he saw at that time. It was not completely made of gold, but a kind of porcelain of the Tang Dynasty. There were red, yellow, and green flowers on it, and a special white background. It felt cool in his hand. When he touched it, the white part was delicate and smooth, and the part with the pattern was prominent. No matter how he looked at it, it did not look like something used to eat. It was placed in the most important place in the house for others to see. Duo looked at the bowl in his hand, and then looked at the other bowls and plates that were not sent over. They were the same kind as the one in his hand, so he could not help but swallow his saliva. He asked Zhang Xiaobao with uncertainty, Are you really giving it to us? Yes, it's just food. It's easy to break after a long journey. You can keep it. We still have some, and the rest will be solid iron bowls. Zhang Xiaobao was really hesitant. It was not that he was reluctant to give it to Duo. The bowls used at home were very beautiful. He was worried that if he gave it to Duo would be remembered by others. If that was the case, giving something to others would harm them. Duo did not think about this for a while. He carefully put the bowl in his hand in the arms of the person next to him, picked up a plate, and stroked the pattern with his hand. Xiaobei said, This is the peony fighting beauty pattern. They are red peony, yellow peony, and white peony. In the Tang Dynasty, it is worth more than 30 strings of coins. You can buy a lot of salt. If you eat as much as you want, it will be enough for you to eat for 20 years. Xiaobei now learned to use salt to show the value of things. Who asked the local people to lack salt, saying that money was not intuitive enough. Duo's hand trembled, and he almost threw the plate to the ground. He did not doubt the words of the little girl next to him. The plate was really beautiful. Behind him, a young man came over and said a few words to Duo. Duo listened, took a deep breath, put the plate back, and said to Zhang Xiaobao, We only need 2 bowls. Zhang Xiaobao heard some of the content. That person asked Duo what was going on. And Duo told him that it was a gift from the great Tang, and that it could be used to eat. That person was very happy and said that they had good things. Even the king of the tribe would feel that they had a high status. Duo thought about what Zhang Xiaobao was worried about, and decided not to take so many things. He only kept 2 bowls. If people didn't care about him and forced him to take them, he would keep them as treasures. If people threatened him, he would give them to them. He then turned his head and spoke to the people on his side. His meaning was that the item was too expensive, and they were unable to pay for it. They could only leave behind 2 bowls and help the great Tang. His people couldn't understand the language of the great Tang, so they all believed it to be true. No one objected to the offer of help. In their eyes, the 2 bowls were very precious. Even if they added up all the things in the tribe, they still wouldn't be able to exchange for them. Do you see? They live on the outskirts of the large tribes, and are looked down upon by the tribes. But they don't dare to leave behind everything we give them. They are worried that the leaders of the tribes will find out and steal it. If you don't have strength, don't even think about having it, even if it clearly belongs to you. Zhang Xiaobao said to his brothers and sisters as he handed over another bowl. The 9 little ones nodded. They had seen too many things along the way, things that they couldn't understand just by reading books, and things that they didn't personally experience in the stories told by their brothers and sisters. They knew that they were respected and loved by the great Tang because of their brothers and sisters. They gave the great Tang people a good life and a stable environment to live in. When they arrived at the 6th Zhao, it was because of their brothers and sisters' reputation. Now it was because of the strength of their own large army. It had nothing to do with the good bowls and plates they had. If they didn't have the company of more than 10,000 elites, the better the things they had, the more dangerous it would be. So that's why my brothers and sisters have always valued technology to strengthen the army, right? Peace without being able to contend against the enemy's strength comes from the enemy's charity. The peace of the strong to the weak is compassion and tolerance. We don't want to be the former. We don't need the charity of others. Xiao Bei waved his little fist and said seriously. The other 8 little ones nodded. Duo was also listening. A trace of embarrassment appeared on his face, but he still said, "Yes, we don't dare to steal your things. We will agree to any conditions you raise as long as they don't harm our lives. The weak can't negotiate with the strong. It's really not easy for you children to follow us. It's very tiring, but we've learned a lot. What we see with our own eyes is more realistic than what is recorded in books. It's not just the interactions between people, but also the flowers, trees, mountains, rivers, and all kinds of animals we see on the road. Not all children have this opportunity. Ji Xiangrui and the others can't follow us. They're too young, so we can adapt, so we were brought along by my brothers and sisters." "Oh, Ji Xiangrui is our younger brother and sister. They're very cute," Xiao Bei said to Duo while giving his brothers and sisters a sweet smile. When Xiao Yuan and the others heard Xiao Bei's words, they felt that the hardships along the way were nothing. Just as Xiao Bei had said, not all children had such an opportunity. Moreover, other children might have had it worse in the past. They had to go up the mountain to collect firewood and cut grass to feed the cattle and sheep. If they were the village children who worked for the master, not to mention studying, after returning from releasing the cattle to eat something, they would find some hay and sleep with the cattle outside the house. Duo looked at the 9 children enviously. He then looked back at the naked children on his side and shook his head. The difference was too big. "Tell us, what do you need us to do? Actually, if you don't give us anything, we won't dare to resist," Duo sighed and said to Zhang Xiaobao. At this time Wang Wan said, "You have to follow us wherever we go. Also, you have to be responsible for hunting and picking vegetables. We can't use the things we carry too much." As Wang Wan spoke, she finally understood why other expeditions had to bring a large number of non-combatants, such as craftsmen, and the like. Then, they had to defeat the enemy and be captured. The expeditionary army had no supplies behind them, and they probably wouldn't be able to keep up. When they went deep into the local area, they could only rely on the things carried by airships. It would be great if they had a group of long-range heavy transport aircraft. Countries without such tools couldn't fight long-range wars. They could take advantage of the good weather to hold on for food, but what about ammunition? It was no wonder that when aircraft carriers and heavy transport aircraft came out, the surrounding small countries were nervous. Wang Wan thought for a moment. When she was done, Duo didn't respond. He didn't look at her and looked at Xiaobao. Thus, Wang Wan snorted in dissatisfaction. Zhang Xiaobao coughed and said to Duo, "This beautiful and charming woman is my wife. As for me, I can't control this team. I can only control the people in the team who don't fight. As for her, everyone with guns listens to her. Do you know?" Duo opened his mouth blankly and looked at the beautiful woman in front of him again. So this woman was the one who killed people. Duo looked at Zhang Xiaobao again. "Why are you staring at me like that? She's the one who calls the shots. Don't you understand?" Zhang Xiaobao said with a glare. "You can't beat her?" Duo asked. Normally, I can beat her, but I can't. She's my wife. Do you understand my wife? She's the woman who will live with me for a lifetime. Why would I beat her? After the fight, I can't live anymore. Even if she can't beat me, she won't give in. I know her better than you. But when it comes to fighting, I'm really not her match when leading the same people and weapons. In other words, she's better at leading soldiers than me. The more soldiers she leads, the stronger she is. As for me, the more money she gives me, the stronger I am. I can't explain it clearly to you. In any case, you remember that the relationship between me and her is different from the relationship between you and your woman. Zhang Xiaobao explained over and over again. After all, he needed the other party's help, so he had to make things clear. Duo actually didn't understand why a man would give the military power to a woman. If he could beat her, he would beat her until she became obedient. If she didn't, he would continue to beat her. He kindly advised Zhang Xiaobao, "You can." Wang Wan stepped forward with her left foot, exerted force on her waist, and kicked Duo with her right foot. Duo flew up and heard the woman's voice. "You talk too much nonsense." Then there was the sound of Walla from his side. Don't move. After landing on the ground, Duo felt that his body was about to fall apart. Ignoring the pain in his chest, he shouted to his people, "Listen to them, don't move. Get up, get your people ready, and follow us." Wang said with a cold face. "Oh," Duo responded, turned over and rubbed his chest. He began to prepare the 120 people in his small tribe for migration. Zhang Xiaobao raised his arm, and the people in the team put away their guns. He said to his younger siblings, "See? People always know how to cherish the time when they are not injured after they are hurt. So brother, you don't dare to hit sister. You're afraid of getting hurt, right?" Little Bei looked up and asked. Zhang Xiaobao patted his sister's head. "When you're older, you'll know that when husband and wife fight, the physical harm will never be as great as the distance between the hearts of the people. Most importantly, if I don't kill your sister, but she risks her life, I'll get hurt easily. A life and death battle only takes a moment. In theory, the speed of a passive reaction can't compare to the speed of an active attack, especially when the distance is very close." Xiao Yuan, who was beside Little Bei, said to her brother as if she had found a confidant, "I'm always bullied by Little Bei. My heart hurts. Then I won't bully you in the future. I'll bully others," Little Bei said with a pout. "Then I'll make the people you bully hurt all over their body," Xiao Yuan said threateningly. "Look at how you teach your younger siblings." Wang rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao and walked over to instruct the people of Duoduo's tribe to pack their military backpacks. There were many things they needed to carry. Zhang Xiaobao turned his head to look at his younger siblings and said, "My heart hurts now too. Hee brother, you and sister are so fun." Little Bei hugged her brother's waist and twisted her body to act like a spoiled child. Zhang Xiaobao picked up his sister and held her on his right elbow. He followed Wang and walked over. "She's already 3 meters tall. She's getting heavier and heavier. I can't carry her. Let's go and take a look." Duo rubbed his chest with one hand and kept pointing with the other, telling his people to move faster. Wang told him not to let the people of the tribe carry wooden weapons and stone tools. Wooden bowls and basins were also thrown here. Duo was very obedient this time. He thought that he couldn't beat the woman in front of him. When he was being beaten just now, he couldn't make any defensive movements at all. When he dodged, his chest first felt stuffy, and then he flew. Perhaps this was why the man called Zhang Xiaobao was afraid. But when he saw Zhang Xiaobao coming over, he overthrew the guess in his heart. He saw how Zhang Xiaobao was holding his sister. His right arm was bent and raised horizontally, not sticking to his body. That little girl was sitting on Zhang Xiaobao's arm, one hand hugging Zhang Xiaobao's neck. Her 2 legs were swinging in the air. How strong was her arm? Especially Zhang Xiaobao, who looked relaxed and didn't care at all. Duo pondered. If it was Zhang Xiaobao who kicked him just now, would he fly higher and farther? "Come, let me see. Are your bones broken?" Zhang Xiaobao walked to Duo and stretched out his left hand to press on the place where Duo was kicked. He nodded. "It's okay. You kicked very well. At the end you use force, not vibration force. Otherwise, you would have died. It seems that my wife knows how to control her strength." Duo nodded. "I finally know that women are not to be trifled with." Chapter 1329. Duo's small tribe had a total of 126 people, including all the adults, the elderly, and the children. They packed up their things and threw away everything that should be thrown away. Otherwise, each person wouldn't be able to carry a hill-sized backpack. Although there were few people and they lived a poor life, they had a lot of daily necessities. The group of people was ready. The people of the tribe took one last look at the place where they used to live and followed Zhang Xiaobao and Wang's team to the local central tribe without any reluctance. Xiao Bei and the other 9 people called Su Yilong and also got busy. There were 2 children in the tribe that they couldn't take care of, so they were carried by the adults. The other small, dark, and thin children were their responsibility. They called the interpreters to give gifts to the children. There were a total of 15 children, 6 girls and 9 boys. After asking, they found out that the oldest was 8 years old, and the youngest was 3 years old. As for the 9-year-old, they were considered adults and needed help to do a lot of things. The gifts were very simple. They were candy placed inside a toy, a bamboo toy. When the candy was placed inside, it would be poured out when it was eaten. When it wasn't eaten, it would be played with. It was a toy that Xiao Bei and the others didn't play with at all, but it was very attractive to the local children. Xiao He grabbed them one by one, and made a few strange sounds from his mouth from time to time. He played very happily. There were also people who measured everyone in the tribe. When they were resting, there would be people who specially made clothes and shoes for them, just like what Xiao Bei and the others wore. The team carried a lot of cooked cowhide. No matter how hot it was, everyone had to wear high leather boots. Otherwise, they would hurt their feet. The other people in the tribe were carrying various tools that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wang gave them. The new tools were much better than the old ones, so they were very happy. Zhang Xiaobao's team reduced the burden of transportation. Since they were given out, they naturally wouldn't continue to help carry. Duo carried things on his back and a set of knives in front of him. There were a total of 9 knives inserted into a wooden box and locked with a chain. From time to time, Duo would touch the handles of the knives. Only then did he feel relieved that the things were not lost, and he didn't feel the pain in his chest from being kicked. These knives are very valuable, right? Duo once again touched the handles of the knives one by one and asked Zhang Xiaobao. It's all right. We all brought good steel knives with us when we came out. They're much better than the scrap metal you're using. Zhang Xiaobao said that Duo had already been solemnly handed over to another strong man in the tribe. Duo nodded and walked a few steps before asking, "Why didn't you bring more inferior items? Your inferior items are also very valuable here. The difference between a beautiful bowl and an ugly bowl won't be much worse. We can flip through so many things, but you must have flipped through many times. Since I'm going out, I naturally have to bring good things." Zhang Xiaobao explained and then looked at Toto Duo. For some reason, he felt that Toto Duo was just trying to find something to talk about, as if he wanted to achieve some sort of goal. Duo nodded and didn't say anything this time. Until noon, when they needed to stop and rest, they chose a relatively flat place for Zhang Xiaobao's family to eat. The other places were randomly chosen. Of course, the flattest place was reserved for the people who made the clothes and shoes. Today's lunch was still stewed. A large pot was placed on the rack with a fire under it. They threw in all the jerky that the tribe had saved with great difficulty to stew. This was not enough, so they also threw in some of the things they had hunted on the road, and some wild vegetables. When they were cooked, they poured the noodles into it to make soup. Each person had a bowl to eat. Such a simple meal was sumptuous for the people of the tribe. They carefully held the iron bowl with one hand, and reached in with the other hand to grab the food. However, they felt that it was too hot, so they gave each person a spoon, which was very strenuous to use. The food of the 9 children was better than the others. There was a small plate of kimchi. Seeing that the children of the tribe were staring at it, and wanted to grab it with their hands, Xiao Bei had no choice but to put some into their bowls. She didn't want to eat the food that Xiao He had grabbed. There was a limit to how approachable she could be. The children of the tribe didn't see that she didn't want them to grab the food, and happily ate a mouthful of the kimchi. It was sour and sweet, and their faces showed a happy expression. They were very satisfied. Xiao Bei looked and carefully tasted the food in her bowl. After swallowing it, she said, "It's really delicious. I also think it's a blessing." Do we still need to talk about our cook's skills? Of course it's delicious. Do you think you have a hard life? Xiao Yuan said and lowered his head to eat, pretending that he didn't see Xiao Bei's glare. A normal adult would be full after eating a big bowl, but the people of Duo finished a bowl, and looked at the pot. They found that there was still some left, so they made do and ate half a bowl each. After eating, they were panting, not knowing whether it was because they were too full or because it was too hot. The team continued on their journey, but the clothes and boots were still not ready. Duo touched the hilt of the knife in front of her chest again. Suddenly, she turned her head and asked Zhang Xiaobao, "Do you know how to grow food? Do you know how to raise cattle and sheep?" Zhang Xiaobao looked over and nodded. "It's okay. My family has zhuangzi, which is specially used to grow food and raise livestock. Moreover, the yield is very high. If you want to raise livestock, I think chickens are good. Catch a wild chicken, cut off its wings, tie a rope between its legs, and encircle an area with a fence. You can eat eggs and chicken. If you can pay enough, I can even get people to send you good breeding chickens and pigs. I'll tell you how to take care of them. What's the price? Duo asked anxiously. Zhang Xiaobao paused for a moment, smacked his lips and shook his head. Let's not talk about the price first. You don't have anything. Other than more than 120 people. You can't take out anything else. I'll tell you how to raise wild chickens and pigs first. I'll find a few people to introduce them to you. All right. Duo felt very helpless. He really couldn't take out enough things to exchange with the other party. After hesitating for a while, he took a deep breath and mustered up his courage. He said to Zhang Xiaobao, I've thought about it. If I go back to the big tribe, they will take away my knife. They will take away the clothes and shoes you made for us. I can't resist at all. They will kill all of us. I intend to stay away from them, go to a place where they can't find me, and live a peaceful life with my people. But we don't know how to grow food, and we don't know how to raise things. We used to trade with them every few days with game and fish that we caught. If you can teach us, I won't have to worry about not having anything to trade. If you leave us some of your good tools, I'm willing to do anything for you. This time, Zhang Xiaobao understood that Duo was also ambitious. He also wanted to resist exploitation and oppression. It was just that he didn't have the ability in the past. Now, he felt that if he found a temporary backer and learned some skills, he would not be controlled by the big tribes. Zhang Xiaobao didn't answer immediately. He was thinking about how to solve the current problem of Duo's tribe while he was on the road. Until night fell, when they would arrive at the area where the big tribes lived, Zhang Xiaobao still couldn't figure out a solution. He seemed to be very confused. During dinner, he personally roasted the meat of a deer that he had hunted on the road for his younger siblings. He also cooked roasted deer belly and steamed rice for the children in the tribe to eat together. Together with the 4 injured members, he and Wang continued to eat together with the rest of the team. Duo was very puzzled. He pointed to the 2 large portions of food and rice and said, You can eat. We can't eat. Zhang Xiaobao seriously replied. You are the leaders. Duo emphasized. Yes, but we are not the wounded and the children. Zhang Xiaobao replied again. Duo shook his head. Obviously, he didn't understand why the leaders of a group couldn't eat well. Zhang Xiaobao didn't expect Duo to understand. After dinner, he went into the tent with Wang and began to discuss the matter mentioned by Duo during the day. I really don't know how to arrange it. Zhang Xiaobao sighed. You have the ability to help them, but you feel that you can't get enough in return. Because they are not the people of the Tang Empire, you are hesitating whether to integrate them into the Tang Empire. You consider that they are not among the 56 tribes, so you naturally exclude them, right? Wang analyzed Zhang Xiaobao's thoughts and said. Zhang Xiaobao admitted. Indeed, I always treat them as outsiders. And they are too backward and don't understand the Tang Empire. If I want to integrate them into the Tang Empire, I have to put in a lot of effort. Where to arrange them is the problem. Put them at the border? Their lives will improve, and at the same time, they are still them, not the people of the Tang Empire. If they are separated, they will not be able to adapt. They are almost a family, and it is very immoral of you to separate them. Then how can you arrange the 6 Zhao, the original Tubo, and the people at the border who were tricked into becoming hostages, the Turks, the Silla, and the other remote areas? Wang asked suggestively. Because they are. Alright, they are one of the 56 races. It could be 57, or 58 or 85. I just didn't get it right for a while. Then, if I help them, I will help myself. Together with the people of the large tribes, I will take away the authority of the leader and return them to the Tang Empire. Zhang Xiaobao thought it through, and the previous problem was no longer a problem. Wang smiled and said, We cannot kill the leader, but we can't let him have trusted subordinates. According to the plan, we will first take them away and let them be our logistics personnel. Slowly get to know them. And as time goes by, their leader's authority will gradually weaken in the hearts of the people of the tribe. If they play tricks, we will use this as an excuse to kill them. If they are honest, we will let them live. I hate it the most when I accept a group with its original management. It is the same for the military, the government, and the business. I hate it too. Let's sleep. Tomorrow, we will not tell Duo all the plans. Just tell him that we will help him. When we arrive at the place, we will trick everyone to follow us. Zhang Xiaobao yawned and pulled the blanket over himself and Wang Wan. He listened to the sounds of the little ones playing as they couldn't sleep and fell asleep. The next morning, the people of Duoduo's tribe changed into new clothes and boots. After breakfast, Zhang Xiaobao pulled Duo aside and whispered to him. Duoduo's face finally showed a look of relief and excitement. Chapter 1330. Duo, who had been promised by Zhang Xiaobao, jumped up and down as he walked. His head kept looking back and forth. Several times he wanted to tell his tribesmen the good news, but he restrained himself. He was afraid that if he told the news, when his tribesmen met the leader of the big tribe, someone would accidentally spill the news. If the leader knew, he would be angry and kill all 126 of his tribesmen. Even though he had come with the Tang team, who could guarantee that the tribe leader would kill him in a fit of anger? Even if the Tang people helped him take revenge, he would still be dead. Duo was happy, so he asked the strong men in the tribe to work hard to hunt. They all pulled their bows and arrows and worked very hard. It was a pity that there were no metal arrowheads. Zhang Xiaobao's tribesmen had metal arrowheads, but they were not suitable for the shafts of bows and arrows. They carried crossbows which were shorter than bows and arrows, but they saved strength, had a long range, and had high accuracy. There were two ways to load the crossbows. One was to kick the crossbows directly, the other was to shake the handle beside it. Crossbows were more convenient for assassination than guns. They were less noisy, and the most important thing was that the arrows could be retrieved. Duo looked at them with envy. At the same time, he was surprised by their ability to adapt to the terrain. Every time he saw someone with a crossbow, he would take a second look. However, he did not ask for it. He knew that the crossbow and the set of arrows were dozens or even hundreds of times more valuable than the set of knives he just got. Fortunately, Zhang Xiaobao gave him another set of knives. They were not for cooking, but for carpentry. The bows and arrows they used were made from tree branches. With a good knife, it would be easier to cut them, and it would be more accurate. The tail feathers used to balance the arrows would also be easier to find. The tribesmen could make bows and arrows as they walked. The workmanship was rough, but the effect was good when they hit animals. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also understood this, so they always asked the Tang army to be very careful. With traps and long-range weapons, they could teach the enemy a lesson. Duo didn't know that the bows and arrows used by his tribe would make Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan nervous. He always felt that the Tang people's weapons called guns were more powerful. He wasn't wrong in his thinking. It was indeed powerful. However, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had requested for 0 casualties, and they really did it. They didn't die directly from the other party's offensive weapons during the course of the battle. As a result, the pressure on the logistics team increased, and they had to exchange money for lives. Duo didn't know how valuable the lives of the Tang people were. He was looking forward to seeing how the thing called a gun attacked. Seeing that Zhang Xiaobao didn't use it, he couldn't help but ask, "Gun, let's have a shot?" Zhang Xiaobao hesitated for a moment and nodded. "It's just one shot. It's not easy to reload the bullets. It's like a bow. An arrow can be retracted after it's shot, but a bullet can't be used immediately after it's shot. If the shape changes, it has to be reloaded. It's very troublesome." "You don't have enough bullets?" Duo asked. "It's enough to kill you 10,000 times over," Zhang Xiaobao threatened. Duo waved his hand. "That's not what I meant. Let me have a look." Zhang Xiaobao stretched out his hand, and someone handed over a sniper rifle. After receiving it, Zhang Xiaobao took it apart and reassembled it. His hand gently stroked the body of the gun, and his face was also attached to the gun, feeling the trace of coolness. Duo, who was watching from the side, felt that it was very strange. It turned out that the gun could be taken apart, but why did it feel that Zhang Xiaobao wasn't holding a weapon to kill people, but a beautiful woman? Looking at Zhang Xiaobao's woman, Wang Wan, Her eyes were so gentle when she looked at the gun. What's going on with these two people? When we pick up a weapon, we are one with the weapon. It's like you have a good bow. The chef's knife and the weaving girl's needle are all like this. Let's go to the front. Zhang Xiaobao said and called Duo to rush forward. Behind them, there was the sound of messy footsteps. The 9 little guys and Su Yilong also followed, wanting to see the fun. There were many wild beasts in places that had not been extensively destroyed by humans. Soon the group found a deer. It was an adult male deer with 10 forked antlers on its head. It was leisurely eating grass about 300 meters away from the group. In fact, there were people on the other side of the deer, but it didn't meet them. They were scouts, and they had to advance 20 miles. Zhang Xiaobao chose to shoot while standing, and he didn't have any support. Just as he was about to aim, someone beside him pulled his clothes. "Brother, let me do it, okay?" It was Xiaonan who spoke. "Okay." Zhang Xiaobao handed the gun over. Xiaonan stretched out her hands and caught it. Looking at the deer, she took off the scope and found a place to lie on the ground. She patted her right shoulder with her left hand, and put her right hand on the trigger. She aimed with her eyes and began to adjust her breathing. Waiting and waiting, Duo didn't understand what a little girl was waiting for. Just as he was about to speak, a sudden gunshot sounded, startling him. The deer had fallen to the ground, and only its 4 limbs were still moving slightly. Rub it, rub it." Xiaobei shouted and ran to Xiaonan's side, squatting down and rubbing Xiaonan's shoulders. Xiaonan was very shy and stood up. "It's okay. I'll be fine after a while. It doesn't hurt." After saying that, she still shook her arm. It was obvious that the recoil just now made her feel uncomfortable. Usually, she didn't use a sniper rifle to practice. Her pistol was also the most accurate among the 9 of them. Her firing speed was also fast, and she could hit anything within 35 meters. Duo looked at the fallen deer, and then looked at the girl who had just used the gun in disbelief. He ran toward the deer. When Zhang Xiaobao and others came near, he was still observing. There were no other wounds on the deer's body. Only its eyes were messy. When he lifted the deer's head, the other eye was also the same. Needless to say, it must have gone in from one eye and come out from the other. Duo looked back at the place where he was standing before and looked at Xiaonan again. He asked in surprise, "You can hit the eyes from so far away?" I didn't aim at the eyes. I aimed at the head. It was so far away, and I didn't use the scope. I couldn't see the deer's eyes." Xiaonan was still shy and didn't show any pride. She knew that her brother and sister were better than her. She needed to continue practicing. "Why didn't you use the scope?" Duo didn't understand. "My brother and sister said that before a person with a good sense of shooting, using too many auxiliary tools will suppress his talent. I have to shoot by feeling. I want to be one with the gun. My brother and sister said that many snipers are good at shooting and can carry out tasks easily. However, one day, when they are fighting with a talented sniper, the gap will be revealed. One is a gunsmith, and the other is a god of shooting. A gunsmith is for the task and planning the target, while a god of shooting is for the control of the field. A god of shooting who doesn't waste his talent and works hard can sometimes even control the shooting range by intuition. Within that range, he is a god of shooting," Xiaonan said with yearning. She was still holding the sniper rifle. Duo couldn't understand how powerful a god of shooting was, but he knew how powerful the little girl in front of him was. At such a far distance, where the arrow couldn't reach, she could hit the head as she wished. If it was a normal person, he would probably die. No wonder the tribal leaders were so scared when they talked about the weapons of Tang. Even children could kill people easily. It was said that there were countless people in Tang. If everyone had a gun, Duo didn't dare to think about it anymore. He used to admit that Tang was powerful, but it was just an impression. When he saw the team of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he felt that Tang had countless good things. Now he really admitted that Tang was unimaginably powerful. While he was thinking, Zhang Xiaobao had already skinned the deer. This deer skin was too complete, and the deer was not small. He could make something for his brothers and sisters. After thinking about it, Duo found that a large part of the deer's skin had been skinned very well, even better than his. He was too embarrassed to help, so he squatted aside and watched. Then he said to Zhang Xiaobao, "The deer head should be given to your sister." "No," Zhang Xiaobao replied casually. "It is the symbol of a warrior. When our children hunt for the first time, they will leave a part of the beast for their children." Duo thought that Zhang Xiaobao was greedy for the deer head, so his tone was a little different when he persuaded. Zhang Xiaobao didn't stop. "Can I leave it? She has killed too many animals. The purpose of killing animals is to eat and use, not to show off. Otherwise, it is disrespect to life and blasphemy to humanity. When you leave the head of an animal on the wall, you want to show others how good you are at killing animals and how powerful you are. My wife and I don't need to put any head on the wall, but where we are standing, who dares to say that we are not powerful? Yes, I don't want the deer head. That thing takes up space. Thousands of people have died in the hands of my brother and sister, but the paintings on the wall of my brother and sister's house are mountains and rivers. When you show your courage by using other animals' bodies, it is because you are not confident enough." Xiaonan stood over with a gun and watched the deerskin. His words supported her brother. Although she already knew that her brother was not her biological brother, she didn't understand the difference between a biological brother and a biological brother. Moreover, she had forgotten the things when she was younger, but she always remembered when Xiaobei gave her candy. So every time someone questioned her brother, she opposed it. Duo was speechless for a while. There were indeed several heads of beasts in his original home. There were bear heads, tiger heads, and many wolf teeth. He even had a chain of bear teeth around his neck. Just like what Xiaonan said, he used these heads to show the power of his tribe. Later, he left with the Tang team, so it was not convenient to carry them. No matter how precious the heads of animals were, they were not as precious as a set of knives. He put his hand on his neck and secretly exerted force. When he struggled again, his neck hurt, and the chain of bear teeth was pulled off by Duo. He used his wrist and threw it into the barley next to him. Only then did he feel relieved. "What are we eating tonight?" Zhang Xiaobao asked when he was packing up the deerskin. Xiaobei didn't need to be reminded to know that he was asking about them. He came over to look at the bloody deer and asked, "Didn't we arrive at the tribe's place at night? If I am not satisfied with their hospitality, I will. If I had known earlier, I would have brought our guards. They can be used as training. They are very old. The oldest one is already 20 years old." Xiaobei wanted to say that his guards were not good enough to receive his people, but when he thought about it, he realized that he didn't have any guards that belonged to him. They were all his brother and sister's guards. His 9 guards were still undergoing training, so he was very depressed. Chapter 1331. Duo had been listening the whole time. When he heard what Xiaobei said about his guards, he began to guess who this Zhang Xiaobao from Tang Dynasty was. From what they said, the ones following them were not the Tang Dynasty's army, but their own slaves. Oh, they called servants. There were also children, but they didn't come. What did their family do? Also, the little girl with the spear said that thousands of people had died at the hands of Zhang Xiaobao and his woman. Were they not afraid of Tang Dynasty's laws? It was said that killing was not allowed in Tang Dynasty. After hesitating for a while, Duo mustered up his courage and asked Zhang Xiaobao, "What is your status in Tang Dynasty? You killed many people and you are not guilty?" "I am Zhang Xiaobao," Zhang Xiaobao said. "I know. I heard you say that you are a good person. Then what is your status?" Duo was very nervous. Zhang Xiaobao finally stopped what he was doing and looked at Duo in shock. Wang covered her mouth and laughed. Xiaobei said, "Ha, I'm dying of laughter. Uncle Duo, you are really interesting. Brother, you are also interesting." Zhang Xiaobao also laughed and patted Xiaobei's head. He said to Duo, "Since you don't know my name, it's useless to talk about the official position. This war against the Duo was planned by my wife. As for me, I am responsible for mobilizing people to help transport things. You understand now, right?" Duo looked at Zhang Xiaobao in shock, and then quickly turned to look at Wang. He moved his feet and took 5 steps back. Not only did he understand, but he was also frightened. You are heartless Xiaobao, and you are demoness Cuckoo? You are Xiaobei? Duo asked in a trembling voice. Xiaobei patted his head and sighed. Ah, uncle, it's not that I want to belittle you, but how do you think you can lead the tribe to greater heights? Come, let me introduce you. This is Xiao Hai, and this is Xiao Nan. Her sister is Da Nan. Don't they look alike? There's also Xiao Gang, Xiao Chong, Xiao Zhu, Xiao Fang, and so on. My name is Xiao Yuan. If you're not, wait a minute. Brother, look, Xiao Bei is bullying me in front of outsiders. Xiao Yuan could not take it anymore. No, I'm not bullying you. You don't need me to introduce you, right, Uncle Duo? Xiao Bei hurriedly asked Duo. Duo kept nodding. Yes, Xiao Yuan will be Xiao Bei's man in the future. It's just that he's always bullied by Xiao Bei. He doesn't act like a man. What are you talking about? Little Yuan is giving in to me. Uncle, you only know how to bully women. Right, big brother Yuan. Little Bei pouted and said to Toto before smiling sweetly at Little Yuan. I'm so worried. Little Yuan also slapped his forehead. What do you want to eat tonight? Zhang Xiaobao asked again, ignoring the little one's playfulness. Xiaobei smiled at Little Yuan again. He observed the deer and said, Let's eat the venison hot pot. Everyone has a small pot in front of them. Little Yuan and I will share one. There must be chili in the seasoning. Zhang Xiaobao nodded and agreed. He began to ask people to prepare enough portions, and it had to be the best part of the meat. He knew that Xiaobei was still unwilling to eat in the same pot as the children in the tribe. Even though he had washed his new clothes when he changed, he was still tanned. Moreover, he did not undergo hygiene inspection, so Xiaobei was afraid of getting sick. Duo could tell that the children did not like to eat in the same pot as his children, so he could not help but feel a little uncomfortable. However, when he thought about how this person directly started a war against the cannibals, his status was naturally very, very high. So high that he would not have come into contact with him if he did not meet him by chance. Then he suddenly saw Zhang Xiaobao promise the children to make some hot pot, so he used this as a topic. Zhang Xiaobao, can I call you guys like this? You guys okay? Xiaobei, do they like to eat meat? You can call me whatever you want, but you can't call me you guys. It sounds awkward to me. You don't have to care too much. My wife and I are actually very kind. Really, okay, I won't say that we are kind. I'll just say that we won't kill you guys. You should believe me, right? When Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he saw the look in Duoduo's eyes again. Wang was still smiling. She remembered how Xiaobao looked when he said that he was a good person yesterday. When she saw Duo looking over, she quickly tried to become serious and said, Xiaobei and the others like to eat everything. They are not picky about food. You see that they don't eat in the same bowl as your children, right? Wang immediately thought of this question. Duo nodded embarrassedly. Zhang Xiaobao smiled at him to show that he understood, but he still explained, Actually, Xiaobei and the others don't like to eat in the same bowl as other children. It's not that they dislike it, but that they are afraid. We walk around the capital, and every place is different. To put it in a more profound way, it's different from bacteria. It's something that can make people sick. You locals are already used to it. Xiaobei and the others are children. If they get sick from eating together, it won't be easy to treat them. In fact, we put medicine in the food you eat, including the clothes you change. The purpose is to let you take a bath first. Otherwise, why would we be in a hurry to make new clothes for you? We are all afraid that we will get sick before we can fully adapt to your place. Once the words were said, Duo didn't feel uncomfortable anymore. Who asked them to not be clean enough? It wasn't enough to be looked down upon from the bottom of their hearts. They could wash off the dirt, but they didn't know what to do when they were looked down upon. After feeling comfortable, Duo said to Zhang Xiaobao, Just now when you said that they were in a dilemma about what to eat, why don't I give you an idea? Let them roast it. Roasted venison is very fragrant. Thank you, but they said that they want to eat hot pot. I'm not in a dilemma. I have to think about how to make them feel comfortable eating it. I'll do it according to the current deer. If the fiber of the meat is thick, I need to cut it thicker and let them cook it slowly in the hot pot. If the fiber of the meat is thin, I need to cut it into very thin slices and let them cook it. Also, what should we put in the soup? We can't use the pheasant that we just hunted here to make the soup, nor can we use the fish in the river. It's good to use beef bones and pig bones to make the soup, but we didn't bring them. So, I just thought about it. It's best to use the local mushrooms to make the soup. Previously, we had the throat mushrooms. Together with the mushrooms here, it'll be enough. It can also let them adapt to the local bacterial environment. Add 2 dried abalones. Alright, that's it. Zhang Xiaobao patiently analyzed Duo. As he analyzed, he counted with his fingers like a child, calculating the counteracting and compatibility of the food. Duo was dumbfounded. Was this still cooking? This wouldn't do. His clansmen also had to consider the food they ate. They would have starved to death long ago. However, listening to it, he felt that it would definitely taste good. It was a pity that he couldn't compete with the children and the injured. Duo looked a little disappointed, not because he couldn't eat it, but because he thought about the lives of the Tang people. After comparing them, he felt inferior. He asked tentatively, "Do the Tang people all eat the same? How is that possible?" Xiaobei raised his head and continued, "If only all the Tang people could be like this. Not to mention venison, we don't even have a lot of mutton. We eat pork every day. If we don't have enough pig meat, we have to exchange it with chicken and duck meat. It's good enough if we can eat pork ribs in half a month. If we want to eat venison every day, we have to raise deer like we raise pigs and chickens. Their lives are really tough. My family has a restaurant business, so the food there is better. It's a little better." Xiaobei felt embarrassed as he spoke. Duo suddenly understood. He had heard of restaurants before. People who ate there had to be rich, and the food tasted good. He couldn't help but feel envious. If there was someone in his family who worked in a restaurant. The meat is good. It's very delicate. Cut out the tenderloin and chill it. Don't let it run. I don't want to make cold jerky for them. I want it cold and fresh. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao had already checked the meat for himself and instructed. Naturally, someone went to get saltpeter and chill the venison. Duo didn't know what chilling was, so he didn't ask. Otherwise, he would be even more surprised. Now he felt that Zhang Xiaobao shouldn't be so serious. He advised, "Just make food. Don't worry too much about the children." "Yes, that's what I said." "If you don't want to worry, then don't raise them. Even raising horses knows how to be careful, let alone raising children. Look at the wild vegetables under your feet. You can't just eat venison." Zhang Xiaobao began to pay attention to the path under his feet again. When he saw wild vegetables that weren't poisonous, he would pick a piece and put it in his mouth to chew. He wanted to see if the taste could match with the venison and seasoning. Every time he confirmed something, Duo would pick it. There were many wild vegetables in the mountains. He was usually very careful when he ate them, afraid that they would be poisoned. Small root vegetables? Sure enough, it's time to eat. Babies, what should we do? Zhang Xiaobao suddenly found many small roots of garlic. The scientific name was allium white. He dug one out of the soil and tasted it. He asked the little ones. The 9 children began to feel awkward. They knew that if they had small root vegetables, they would also have cat ears. Then they could eat the small root vegetables with cat ears soup. It was very delicious. If they added a small plate of sliced cucumber with some salt, it would be even better. But someone had already gone to prepare the venison. What should they do? One by one they frowned. Duo was puzzled. Your family is full of foodies. You frown when you're cooking, and you also frown when you're eating. It's as if you're in a dilemma. Is it more difficult than fighting a war? You can put the two together and eat them both. Duo felt that he was very smart and proposed a solution. Without waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to speak, Xiaobei shook his head. No, venison is warm and nourishing. The small root vegetables are spicy and also nourishing. The cat ears are earthy and can suppress the slight spiciness of the small root vegetables. Together with the cucumber, it will improve the taste and clear the stomach. It's a good combination. Therefore, we can't eat it together with venison. Otherwise, we won't be able to taste the venison. Also, after eating, should we take cold medicine to digest, licorice to balance, or medicine to warm the spleen and stomach to stabilize? It's just a meal. It's not like we're risking our lives. Do you want to eat us to death? It's like chili mixed with ice. Can that be eaten? It's also impossible to add licorice. Those who dare to prescribe such a prescription are either quacks or divine doctors. Didn't you see that brother is looking for vegetables to neutralize the venison? Yes, yes. Illness comes from the mouth, and disaster comes from the mouth. We have to be very careful, Xiaoyuan echoed. Duo didn't understand at all. The only thing he knew was that it wasn't easy for Zhang Xiaobao and the others to eat. It sounded very dangerous. Thinking of the danger, he became nervous again. He said to Zhang Xiaobao, "When we see our big leader, you must not reveal your identities. If the big leader knows who you are, he might want to arrest you." Chapter 1332. Duo spoke very sincerely. After knowing who Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were, he knew the difference between them. They were actually the leaders who started the war against the cannibals. However, he was also worried. This time, the leader of his tribe helped the cannibals once. He thought that the cannibals would succeed, but who knew that the great Tang would be so prepared? Not only did the sneak attack plan fail, but the cannibals were also beaten up. The cannibals did not resist at all, and ran away without a trace. Thus, the great Tang troops ran to the tribe and searched. The leader did not dare to resist, but he also searched his small tribe again. If the leader knew the identity of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, would he play tricks behind their backs and capture them? The two of them were very important to the great Tang. At that time, they could exchange for more compensation from the great Tang. What should he do then? Zhang Xiaobao blinked and suddenly said happily, "Does it mean that if we perform a little worse and give your leader a good opportunity, he will make a move? Aya, this matter can be solved in advance, right, madam?" Wang Wan's eyes also brightened. She also looked at Duo and asked, "Can we really let your leader make a move?" "Not necessarily, right?" Duo began to lose confidence. He could see that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were looking for an opportunity to make a move on the leader of his tribe. Looking at the people from the great Tang, Duo began to think. After a while, he gritted his teeth and said, "If you believe me and can give me enough things, I can trick them out. You can do it directly. This way, I will be responsible for persuading the others and making them listen to you." "What if you fail?" Zhang Xiaobao asked. "My life will be taken by them." Duo put on an expression as if he was not afraid of death. Zhang Xiaobao waved his hand. "Forget it. Let's just follow the previous plan and directly use a strategy to kill. Your people will not be convinced. I still need them to follow the team and do things. It is easy to kill people, but it is hard to change their minds. We should pursue benefits and not force them." "I think so too." Wang Wan agreed. "It's easy to kill people, but difficult to make them work for you. Force has always been used to conquer, but not to rule. Then be careful." At this time, Duoduo's recognition of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan deepened. A large group with guns could have killed their way over, but they didn't. Instead, they chose another method. If he followed them in the future, he would definitely have a good life. How could his current leader use benefits to get what he wanted? He was clearly using benefits to coerce them. If over 100 of his clansmen didn't give them anything, they wouldn't give him any food either. When it came to an exchange, he would be at a disadvantage. The team continued to move forward. No matter what, they would be able to reach their destination before dinner tonight. In a situation where they did not plan to come into close contact with the other party, the team could increase their speed a little. They could hunt more wild beasts and store them to replenish the team's daily consumption. It wasn't that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't know how to protect nature. Right now, they didn't allow Great Tang to cut down trees and hunt animals. It was unlike before, when they didn't have enough strength to stop it. They could only follow Great Tang's national policy of destroying forests and opening up wastelands. Now that things had changed, they could influence Great Tang's policy. Of course, they couldn't continue to pretend that they didn't see it. Bamboo forests could be cut down, and after cutting them down, they would have to plant new ones. Bamboo had a short growth cycle, and the old bamboo forests couldn't be touched. That was a cultural and precious resource. In fact, it was fine to cut down trees, but they had to be separated into different types of forests. Take the old red pine forests, for example. They couldn't bear to part with them, and wanted to leave them for their descendants, let alone others. As for opening up wastelands, they had to clear up the wastelands first. How many people did Great Tang have? Wasn't there enough land for them to plant? If they felt that the land was too small, they could just expand. If people came over to plant them, they wouldn't have to pay a single copper coin in taxes. They could even give them subsidies. But this wasn't the Great Tang, and it was impossible to kill all the wild beasts in the area. If 12,000 people could kill all the wild beasts in the area, it meant that the wild beasts had been on the verge of extinction before. This was impossible. The group hunted as they walked. When the scout at the front reported that they were only 5 li away from the other party's settlement, the group stopped to set up camp, cut down trees, dig trenches, set up tents, and start a fire. Duodwa's tribesmen couldn't help with this kind of thing. They could only watch. They saw that the Great Tang's group was very fast, and that the camp was built well. You guys seem to be building camp faster than the Great Tang army. After 2 days of observation, Duo finally found this problem. He had seen it once when he was delivering things to the tribe, so he pulled Xiaobei aside and asked. Xiaobei and the other 9 people, including Su Ilong, were helping to measure the depth and width of the trenches, as well as the sturdiness of the stag trenches. Especially the trenches, the depth and width were not fixed. They had to look at the terrain. If there was a run-up, the trenches had to be widened. If there was something in the surroundings that could be filled in, the trenches had to be deepened. When Xiaobei was pulled back by Duo, he was on a small mound more than 160 meters away from the trenches. He was holding a luoyang shovel and kicking down hard to see the structure of the soil. He was sweating profusely. When he heard Duodwa's question, he stopped and said to the people beside him, "Let the artillery calibrate this position. Even I can kick down, let alone you. What if they dig to fill in the trenches? 1 small cannon and 3 grenade launchers are enough. Let's see who dares to come over and dig." Then he turned around and asked, "What are you doing, uncle? I mean, compared to the Great Tang army that came before, you guys look more. It's faster to follow Yanjin, right?" Xiaobei helped Duo say. Duo nodded. "Yes, more rigorous. I've heard of this before." "That's right. They are the army of the imperial court, and we are the private army. What you saw should be the army led by Zhang Shougui and army supervisor Yang Xixuan. The 2 of them are still passable, and they have the help of 2 third-generation graduates from my family. Don't compare their fighting strength to ours. If we were to fight the 2 of them, even if 10 of them were tied together, it would be like a game for Big Sis. In other words, our 12,000 people can easily defeat 120,000 of theirs. The individual qualities of soldiers are different. Even if I explained it to you, you probably wouldn't understand." Xiaobei took advantage of the time while speaking to take a break. Then he picked up his luoyang shovel and kicked elsewhere. Duo stood in place for a while, stunned. Then he muttered, "In other words, your 10,000 people are more terrifying than their 100,000 people. Back then they chased less than 6,000 people to the tribe. They clearly knew that there wouldn't be a battle, but they still built the camp like this. It's a waste of effort. Because this is tradition. You can't wait until you think there's danger. If you die on the battlefield because of this, no one will sympathize with you. They will only praise the victor." Zhang Xiaobao's voice suddenly rang out in Duodwa's ear. Duo jumped in fright. Turning back to Zhang Xiaobao, he exhaled and said, "You didn't make any noise when you walked. There's no danger here. Who would dare attack you?" "I changed into rubber shoes and came over to watch others work." Zhang Xiaobao smiled, and then he said to Duo, "Many times in history, when the enemy believed it to be safe, a battle won by a small force. The Great Tang can lose, even if it has advanced weapons. But my wife's and my team cannot lose. Do you want to strike at the confidence of the Great Tang? Defeat our army and capture us. No matter what method you use, whether it's a direct battle or a scheme. As long as you succeed, all the industries of my Great Tang will be in trouble, and the people will be shaken. My wife and I are the symbol of invincibility. If we are ambushed here, Even if 10,000 of our enemies die, it's still a victory for them. So you won't give them a chance. You're standing beside me without anyone protecting you. Aren't you afraid that I'll capture you? Duo understood a little, but he still thought of a possibility and clenched his fists. Hee. Zhang Xiaobao laughed. Your chest doesn't hurt anymore? You don't even have a stick on you, and your nutrition isn't balanced. It's just that you don't control yourself when you eat. As for me, this is called a knife. Don't move. The knife is very fast, faster than the knife I gave you. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, a small knife suddenly appeared in his hand. It was light black and had hemp patterns. He gently placed it beside Duoduo's neck, and with a flick of his hand, a piu sound came from a small tree beside them. Duoduo's pores opened instantly, and he felt much cooler. He turned his head to look at the small tree and walked forward. When he got closer, he shivered again. There was a 2-inch-long red worm that was nailed by the knife. Zhang Xiaobao, can you really beat your woman? If you want me to beat my wife again, I'll beat you first. Hurry up and rest. I think your leader will come over when it's time to eat. I've already sent people there to trade for food. We've consumed too much food along the way. Zhang Xiaobao walked over and pulled the knife out of the worm's body. He then took out a white handkerchief and wiped it. The small knife made a light black mark on his hand, and then it suddenly disappeared. Duo looked at Zhang Xiaobao's back as he left. His feet seemed to be glued to the ground, and his expression was blank. He didn't understand what kind of person this person was. When he looked at his smile, he thought that he was very ordinary. He just looked a little better, and he didn't look that strong when he wore clothes. Why did he have the strength, the throwing knife, and the ability to cook good food, but he was willing to eat the same food as his subordinates? The most important thing was that he was afraid of women. As long as his woman, Wang Wan, looked at him that way, he would smile. If I smile with my women, what will it be like? He's not like a man. He's so powerful, but he's afraid of women. Maybe only his women can understand him. Duo muttered to himself. He found that he really couldn't evaluate Zhang Xiaobao with what he knew. In fact, I don't know him very well. I only know a part of him. Of course, he doesn't know me completely, but he definitely knows me more than I know him. I plan to use my life to understand him. Don't just stand there. Organize your people. Your leader is here. Wang Wan's voice was the same as Zhang Xiaobao's. She suddenly sounded behind Duo. Then she caught up with Zhang Xiaobao, who was holding a stick, and said to him, Brother Simo Domo He Luo Fo Che Hoemo Wu has come in person. He only brought 25 people with no weapons. It's really strong. Zhang Xiaobao swung it a few times, but it didn't break. He praised it, and then asked Wang Wan, Who? What do they do? The local leader. Wang Wan also came over and kicked the side of the deer. Aren't they the Mish tribe? There's no Mish in their name. Others call them Mish, just like the Japanese call us Shina. Do you have Shina behind your name? Who dares to call me that? I'll let him know why flowers. How many eyes does Ma Wangyi have? Japan was originally called Neon, okay? Later, our Chinese people were magnanimous and thought that their sun rose first, so they called it Neon. Unfortunately, this Neon name became derogatory in our time. I feel sad for them. Come with me to meet some Moda people. Zhang Xiaobao threw down the stick and walked in the direction Wang Wan pointed. Chapter 1333. Zhang Xiaobao and the leader of the local tribe, Seymour Domohi, Luo Fach. When the two of them met, they didn't shake hands or hug each other. They didn't even get close to each other. The two of them were 10 meters apart. Zhang Xiaobao sat on a chair with his back facing the south. Seymour Domo he only had a stool and sat facing the north. When he looked at Zhang Xiaobao, he had to look up. It was not that Zhang Xiaobao was deliberately making things difficult for him. It was the rules that represented the dignity of the Tang Empire. How could a leader of a small tribe be on the same level? He was already being merciful by not making him kneel. As for why they could put their arms around each other's shoulders when they met, it was to show that they were close. When to be close and when to be dignified was decided by the person in charge. It was also decided by strength. At this moment, Zhang Xiaobao decided to be dignified. After all, Thunder and rain were the grace of the emperor. Seymour domo he below? Luo Fach. Brother Hima Wu. Why are you here? Zhang Xiaobao asked in a sarcastic tone. Seymour domo he? Luo Fach. Brother Hima Wu felt very uncomfortable when he heard this. He was not your subordinate. What right do you have to treat me like this? Although he was unconvinced, Seymour domo he showed a respectful expression and replied. We see that the envoy from your country has traveled a long way and have worked hard. Therefore, we are here to greet you personally. After he finished speaking, he raised his head and looked at them, as if he was here to visit them, giving them a sense of being neither servile nor overbearing. Zhang Xiaobao, who was sitting on the chair, sneered. Haha, we are not here to visit you. We are here to kill. Since we are here, someone must die. Seymour domo he took a deep breath and forced a smile. He asked, who do you want to die? Those who stare at us die. Those who bare their teeth at us die. Those who are disrespectful to us die. Those who do not listen to us die. Those who make me uncomfortable when they smile at us die. Come Seymour domo he, give me a smile. Zhang Xiaobao rested one leg on the armrest of the chair and leaned against it, casually saying to Seymour domo he. Beside him, someone had already raised his gun and aimed it at Seymour domo. Seymour domo felt deeply humiliated. It wasn't just him. When everyone heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, they felt that Zhang Xiaobao was too much of a bully. He had come to take a look. Even if they didn't treat him well, there was no need to humiliate him. Facing the threat of death, Seymour Duomo finally chose to compromise. He raised his head and gave Zhang Xiaobao a smile that he thought was the most beautiful. He really did not want to die in such a sullen manner. Yes, not bad, but you need to practice more when you go back. We will go over tomorrow morning. Are you all ready to welcome the Shangguan Kingdom? Zhang Xiaobao and Weiwei nodded and asked Seymour domo he. We're all ready. Seymour domo he couldn't say anything else. In truth, he hadn't been prepared at all. He had only just learned that the great Tang had come and said that they wanted to trade. After learning that it was Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's army, he had come with a nervous heart, intending to understand the purpose of their visit. He hadn't expected that Zhang Xiaobao would treat him like a subordinate on their first meeting. After all, he was the leader of more than 3,000 people, and yet he wasn't given the slightest bit of respect. This was too much. After silently cursing, Seymour domo he felt much better. He adjusted his emotions and began to consider proper matters. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had come to his territory. He had helped the Arabs before, so if they used this to cause trouble again, how should he deal with them? Zhang Xiaobao was satisfied this time. He didn't insist on making things difficult for this man. He had noticed that this man called Seymour domo, he had an indifferent expression in his eyes. He was very calm, very relaxed, and very reserved. He wanted to be on equal footing with him and display the prestige of a leader of a small tribe. For some reason, Zhang Xiaobao couldn't help but think of that Filipino President Aquino from a documentary. He was an idiot who couldn't see the situation clearly and had an extremely poor attitude. Every time someone died on his side, he would laugh. This was a sign of immaturity in political wisdom. Even if you were secretly happy and no one cared, you had to pretend. Even the President of the United States didn't dare to laugh. So what were you if you weren't an idiot? This was respect for life. This Seymour domo, he gave Zhang Xiaobao precisely this feeling. Say you have a tribe of 3,000 people that doesn't have anything, so what are you pretending for? What right do you have to appear equal in front of me, and play neither servile nor overbearing? Haven't you read too many historical stories? No wonder the great Tang spoke so smoothly. With this thought in mind, Zhang Xiaobao waved his hand, closed his eyes and leaned back to rest. Seymour domo he, you can go back now. We'll be there tomorrow. Why don't you stay for a meal? It's getting late. Someone immediately gestured to Seymour domo he, appearing rather polite. Okay, let's have a meal. We truly haven't eaten. Seymour domo he happily agreed. This way, please. This person was immediately depressed. He was just being polite, but this guy actually agreed. But since he had already said it, he naturally had to entertain him. Seymour domo followed them and kept looking at the situation of the camp. He found that it was very messy. The tents were not arranged in rows or columns. Instead, there were tents here and there. It seemed like Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's troops were really not good at marching and fighting. At the same time, he was thinking about what he had done wrong. According to the books of the great Tang, many of them said that when one went out to meet the leader of another place, he would be neither servile nor overbearing and would criticize the other party. In the end, when the other party said to push him out to be beheaded, the person who was pushed out would laugh a few times and be asked why he was laughing. After that, it would be easy to handle. He would say his own words, and the other party's leader would think that it made sense, so he would succeed. But today, he didn't say that he was going to push Xiaobao out to be beheaded. Instead, he aimed the gun at Xiaobao. If Xiaobao were to laugh, would he die before Xiaobao could ask him why he was laughing? He had seen that spear before, and it was more formidable than a bow and arrow. If the arrow was far away, he might be able to dodge or block it, but the spear would not give him the time. By the time he heard the sound, he would already be dead. For a moment, Simo Domo was very depressed. He also knew that the other party didn't want him to stay for dinner, probably because he had helped the Arabs before. Those damned Arabs, they actually lost, and they even ran away so quickly. Okay, get up. Xiaobei and the others are waiting to eat hot pot. You go and cut them. Xiaobei says that he wants to eat thin strips. You think of a way. Zhang Xiaobao was still lying on the chair when Wang Wan came over to urge him. In truth, she could also cut, but she could not compare to Xiaobao. In order to make her little brother and sister eat happily, she needed Xiaobao to do it. Zhang Xiaobao was indeed a little tired, not physically but mentally. He knew that it didn't matter what kind of attitude Seymour Demoki had just met. What mattered was whether Seymour Demoki had the same idea as his people. A leader's influence on the people under his rule was extremely large, second only to the influence that parents and teachers had on their children. If Simo Domohi's daily propaganda was hostile to the great Tang, then the more than 3,000 people probably had the same idea. As he got up and walked to the kitchen, Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan, "When the Japanese invaded, let's not talk about invasion and just talk about integration." They also started teaching Japanese in the 3 northeastern provinces. From this, one can see how smart the Japanese are. But in the end, they failed. I'm worried that Simo Domohi will also have nothing better to do and educate his people. If that's the case, we won't be facing the same opponent. Wang Wan smiled and said, I can see that Simo Domohi is using his cleverness in the wrong place. He probably thinks that we're always high and mighty and lack someone who dares to communicate with us normally, so he wants to play this role. In truth, he still has too little understanding of our Chinese culture. There's no such thing as equality, and no leader would be so cheap, including Li Longji. We really do treat him this way, but it's not because he lacks feelings in this aspect. It's because we can provide him with benefits. He laughed and was very happy when Xiaobei stole food from him, but without us, Xiaobei wouldn't have had a chance to steal food. Even if he did, would he still be happy? He's being magnanimous by not teaching Xiaobei a lesson, but he'll definitely teach Xiaobei's family a lesson. If Xiaobei was an ordinary person, Li Longji would teach a lesson to the local officials. As for us, we can communicate with the people of Tang equally, but Simo Domo he thinks that we're used to being high and mighty, so he wants to give us a special impression. Pooh. Well said. Where's the meat? Zhang Xiaobao had already arrived at the big tent that served as the kitchen. He saw the washed wild vegetables, but he couldn't find the meat that he wanted to cut. Little young master, here. Someone outside answered and brought in a tray. There was a large piece of venison on the tray. It was estimated to be around 40 jin. Zhang Xiaobao glanced at it and said, It's too much. Xiaobei, the children in the tribe, and the 4 injured people can't finish it. There's still other dishes. It's not much. Don't we have little young master and little miss? 5 jin is enough for the 2 of you. After dipping it in the soup, the weight of the venison will be lighter. The person who came and looked at Zhang Xiaobao, and Wang Wan with an expectant gaze. We'll eat with you. Little young master, we need someone to watch the little ancestors when we eat hot pot. Tonight we have 2 dishes. One is braised with a variety of flavors, the other is wild vegetable dipping sauce, and the other is fish soup. It's not worse than hot pot. The main dish is hot dry biscuits. The person introduced what they were going to eat tonight. He meant that they didn't need to eat with them. They ate well, so they could accompany the little ancestors to eat hot pot. Zhang Xiaobao hesitated and looked at Wang Wan. Seeing Wang Wan nod, he said, "Okay, Cuckoo and I will be extravagant today. We won't eat with you. Find Duo and invite him to eat. He probably hasn't eaten our hot pot before." "That's great. Here, put the meat." The person answered happily and ran out. Zhang Xiaobao began to cut the meat. As for the strips that Xiaobei mentioned, he didn't care at all. If the meat in hot pot was cut into strips, it would disappear when it was put into the pot. Even thin slices like this had to be prepared for the children in the tribe. Otherwise, with their movements, the meat couldn't be picked up at all. It would become the bottom of the pot after a few dips. Zhang Xiaobao's movements were very fast. He cut the meat according to the horizontal lines. When he cut, he first destroyed the lines. When he dipped the meat, he slightly froze it and kept the moisture. When he cut it, Wei Wei pulled, and it immediately became a roll. Wang Wan looked and had nothing to do, so she praised, "Good knife skills." Chapter 1334. Don't just look at it and talk. Put it in the wooden tray over there. Don't let it melt later. It is not easy to form cold fresh meat in such a short period of time. If it is slightly frozen, once it is cut, it will become the taste of watery meat. Zhang Xiaobao did not stop moving his hands, and instructed Wang Wan, who was standing at the side and watching without helping. Wang Wan had been admiring Zhang Xiaobao's knife skills. It looked very ordinary. He just made a cut and then lifted the knife. What was different was that the meat was rolled up instead of in pieces. It was obvious that he had added other movements when he was cutting. There was a hidden force. After all, cutting by hand was not like a meat slicer. Hearing Zhang Xiaobao's dissatisfied voice, she smiled and quickly went to get the wooden tray in the ice. She did not forget to put a few pieces of ice around it. After putting it on the tray, Wang Wan looked at the meat roll and praised, "The meat is so good. It is actually a small circle of white meat. It is almost like lamb. There is fat. Otherwise, why does it need to be frozen? Otherwise, the fat can't be cut so thin and stick to the knife. Unless I let the knife and the meat be at the same temperature, and put a layer of other oil on it. Of course, a special knife can also be used, but we don't have that technology. It would be better if we have cold-forged knives." Zhang Xiaobao took another piece of meat and sighed as he cut. Wang Wan did not say anything. The technology was several generations behind. If there was cold forging technology, the first knife made would not be a kitchen knife, but a scalpel. Also, the cutting knives and kitchen knives of the lathe were luxurious enough to use cold forging technology. Seymour Domo is staying for dinner. Should we entertain him? Wang Wan thought of another thing. Entertain him. Just entertain him. He will eat hot pot with us. The people he brought will eat with others. It is a matter of etiquette. But we don't need to talk to him about serious matters. We don't even need to talk. Zhang Xiaobao suddenly stopped and looked at the meat. It was actually injured. This piece has to be cut out. We don't want this part of the meat. The knife in Zhang Xiaobao's hand moved back a distance. He wanted to cut down and take a look. He shook his head and continued to move back. This time, he finally let go of the tangled piece of venison. Wang Wan took it and looked at it. She rolled her eyes a few times and said, "He must have hit a hard rock or something and then stabbed himself. Otherwise, there wouldn't be such a scar in this place. It's not easy to live after all. I think it's good to be alive. If it's really too easy, don't you think life will be boring? There's still so much meat waiting to be cut. Now I know why it was so expensive to cut meat by hand." Zhang Xiaobao's movements were not slow, but the meat was too thin, and it required a lot of strength from his wrist. When he exerted force downwards, he had to cut, not press. Otherwise, the meat below would be a little deformed. Then, when the knife went down, it would either be thin or thick, and there would even be a situation where half of the meat was cut. Taking the sharpening stick, Zhang Xiaobao rubbed the knife against it twice and continued to work hard. "I will never cut meat for them like this again. It's so torturous. The knife will be blunt after 2 cuts. Wang Wan looked at Zhang Xiaobao always using the sharpening stick to scrape the knife. Until now, she still didn't understand why, because she didn't need to use that thing when cooking. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head lightly. It's scraping the edge of the knife. The oil on the knife is scraped off. The knife is fine. How about this? Prepare a basin of hot water and a basin of cold water. I will first put the knife in the hot water, then use a towel to wipe it. After wiping it, put it in the cold water, then use another towel to wipe it. This way, there's no need to use the sharpening stick. Use the hot water to get rid of the oil, and use the cold water to lower the temperature of the knife. Every industry is not easy. Eating, it seems to be the simplest, but also the most complicated. Then why is it so expensive to cut meat by hand? Is it because of manual labor? Wang Wan asked suggestively. Because you can't tell the quality of the meat when it's cut by a machine. The texture will be messy. If you ask, people will say that it's the machine. But when it's cut by hand, the texture will be there. No chef will cut the meat for you under the condition of destroying the texture of the meat. Otherwise, this chef won't be qualified. In this way, you can eat with ease. You can eat whatever meat you want. You don't have to worry about the mutton oil added to other meat. The popularity of hand-cut meat is because of the quality of the meat. The price of meat is cheap. Everyone can't buy good meat. The main reason is that in restaurants, it's a case of bad money driving out good money. But with hand-cut meat, everyone will choose this kind of meat in order to eat better. Thus, there's also the saying of good money driving out bad money. The main reason is that eating is different from other things. Everyone knows that illness comes from the mouth. Moreover, when eating in restaurants, naturally they won't care about the difference in price. Thus, the slightly more expensive hand-cut meat is more popular than the machine-cut meat that you don't know what kind of meat it is. Zhang Xiaobao shook his left hand as he spoke. He had been using this hand to press the meat. It was cold. His fingers were numb from the cold. Wang Wan nodded in understanding. She knew about this matter. Chinese people were really smart. Not only were foreigners afraid, but Chinese people were also afraid. If it was Chinese people, they could sell a pound of mutton that cost 70 renminbi for 20 renminbi, just like how mutton that cost 30 renminbi was sold for 10 renminbi more than 100 years ago. Let's not talk about the specifics first. Just talk about the similar taste and how low the cost of the food was. Thus, Chinese people were afraid. Generally, they would go to Muslim to buy beef and mutton, and cut it themselves at home. It was very ironic. They were religious people who should be restrained and rejected, but they had no choice but to go to other people's places to buy things because no one dared to sell fake meat in that place. That was ethnic conflict, and people would die. Selling things to foreign countries, in terms of the same quality, was still very cheap. What made the foreign industry even more afraid was that China's exports were much lower in quality, but the price was much lower. Yes, the quality was indeed not very good, but the price was cheap. If it was a car, quality was very important. But what quality did disposable tableware need? It was thrown away after eating. Are we Chinese people really the scourge of this planet? Wang Wan found it funny and asked. China is the scourge of the entire universe, so let the Chinese people rule this planet first, and then scourge the universe. The others can't do at all, and can only suffer losses. The people of this deer are really good. The meat is delicate. If you look at it under the setting sun, it's like the texture of a cloth. Zhang Xiaobao pinched a piece of meat and looked at it under the light. Wang Wan came over to take a look and nodded. It's really good. It exercises all year round, and it's different from other animals. It's especially better than wild boar meat. The fiber is not so thick, but it's a pity that there's no marbling. If you didn't deliberately let people put some fat, you wouldn't even see a bit of white when you cut it. Marbling, it's nothing more than the ratio of protein to fat. That's other people's rules, not our Chinese rules. If you take 5A beef, other than making steak, can you stir-fry it and eat it? If you cut it along the texture, you'll separate the fat from the thin. If you don't and cut it horizontally, then fine, let's not eat the shredded meat. Eat the foam, it will break. It's a matter of eating habits. It's not always good when others say it's good, unless it's specially sold to them. It's like eating fish and crabs. Do people in England eat crabs? Do people in America eat carp? There are a lot of thorns. But in China, if you have wild crabs and carp, they're very expensive. The English think it's hard to eat crabs. Lobsters are all peeled by the chef. We don't need it. We have special tools to eat it. There are 8 pieces of crabs, it's very delicious. And carp, of course people in America don't eat it. It's very earthy, and there are too many thorns. Why? Because the way they eat it is simple. Children in China know to spit out the thorns when they eat fish from a young age. They don't wait for their parents to remove the thorns and fry the fish with breadcrumbs. Many people are sad. They only say that the food in America is good. Western food. In fact, I don't like to eat this. I'd rather cook it myself. It's not that other people's food is bad. People always eat it, but I'm not used to it. It's too nutritious. I don't need so much nutrition. When you're like me, you eat lean meat. I don't need marbled fat. What I care about is explosive strength, not fitness. I don't need so many special muscles on my body. Okay, it's not easy to eat. By the time Xiaobao finished speaking, he had finally finished cutting the meat. His 2 hands were swinging vigorously. In just a short while he had cut more than 40 jin of meat. Moreover, it was a high standard thickness. The knife was only now showing its age. It was not as good as the cold-forged knife. The difference was too big. Wang was also not idle. In fact, there were not many meat rolls on a tray. Zhang Xiaobao cut them quickly, like magic. When you looked at him, he cut them again and again. But if you counted according to his movements, you would find that he was very fast when he counted the numbers. It was a visual error. It was the same as when the wheels of a car turned very fast in one direction, and then you saw it turn back very slowly. After placing the last meat roll on the 10th tray, Wang looked at Zhang Xiaobao and smiled. Dear, what I admire most about you is your love and support for our Chinese tradition. I will not say whether you are right or wrong. I only want to say that your persistence is not something that all Chinese people have. Just like what we had discussed before, many people who went overseas said that China was not democratic and developed slowly. The quality of the people was not as good as them overseas. However, he had never considered that if China was suddenly gone, would his status as a Chinese be affected in the outside world? Why are they so nice to him? It's because this country that he looked down on has nuclear weapons, high GDP, and influence over other countries. Does he really think that he is powerful? Does he think that he is Qian Xuesen? Yes, as I said, they are far inferior to the Utans. Without Israel, the Utans are rootless duckweeds, so the Utans outside will defend Israel. They are a nail in the religious community of the country we are attacking now. I won't say whether they are right or wrong, I only admire their spirit. Let's go, you can take 2. I don't have enough hands. Are you still my wife? Are you not my wife? Zhang Xiaobao started to design trays. There were 10 trays, and he must find a way to carry 1 trays. He will carry 1 trays, carry 1 in each hand, place 1 on his arm axle and 1 on his shoulder. That will be 7 trays, and he still has 3 trays left. But Wang had her hands behind her back, and was looking at him with her feminine eyes. She did not help him. Carry 1 and carry 2. If you don't work, I will divorce you and divorce you. I am scared to death. Dear, do we need a marriage certificate before getting a divorce? Take it out and let this concubine take a look. Wang helped Zhang Xiaobao adjust the tray on his head, and said with a smile like a flower. Chapter 1335. Fresh venison is here. Zhang Xiaobao shouted and rushed over with 7 trays on his body. The 9 little guys immediately rushed forward and reached out to help. Wow, brother, you're amazing. Are you going to perform acrobatics? It would be even better if you could hold one in your mouth. It's not difficult at all. People can put a very long pole, and people can move back and forth on it. You can hold it in your mouth, really. Xiao Bei said to his brother as he tiptoed, and took the tray down from his brother's head. Many acrobatics can be vomited out after eating. Do you want me to vomit a few mouthfuls for you? Zhang Xiaobao said discontentedly. No, if you don't say it, I'll eat it even if you vomit it out. When you say it, I always think of those drunk people vomiting. It's so uncomfortable. Look, how is my brother's knife skills? I'm asking you, Su Yilong. What are you looking at? Xiao Bei kissed his brother, ran to the table with the tray, and asked Su Yilong, who was staring at the meat roll. Su Yilong was looking at the lamb roll. He had never seen such a thing. He used to eat hot pot at between the clouds and the water. He didn't know what hot pot was before that. He used to eat all slices. How did it become a roll today? Say something, venison. Don't you recognize it? Xiao Bei looked at Su Yilong's confused look and said aloud, "Why is it a roll?" Su Yilong murmured, "Because it's cooked faster when it's put in the soup. My family used to eat it like this." "Oh, it's not like this to outsiders. It's not a big deal. If you want to eat it, wait until we go back. If you eat in the restaurant opened by my family, you can ask for a roll." Xiao Bei made a gesture of boiling the venison and began to distribute the food. The children in Duo tribe were very honest. Each of them had a small hot pot in front of them, but they were a little far from the hot pot. When they wanted to eat, they had to stand up from the chair and walk to the front. Otherwise, they couldn't boil the food. During the process of eating, they had to go back because the small table with the plates was next to the chair. They were not the only ones. Xiao Bei and the others were the same. However, the 9 little fellows were already used to it. They would go there when they were cooking and come back when they were eating. They would just make a few more trips. Su Yilong frowned and said, "That's not what I meant. What I wanted to say was, why would the frozen meat be rolled up after being cut? It's just like the shaved ice you sold in the beginning. In fact, it's all rolled up and then broken. Why are you asking such a question? Go back and study physics yourself." "How would I know? It's not like I've learned enough. I'm just starting to eat. I don't care about all that. It's such a mess. The more I think about it, the more vexed I get. There's no end to learning." After Xiao Bei finished speaking to Su Yilong, she said to the children of Duo tribe. She picked up the chopsticks with one hand and a small spoon with a fine net in the other. She picked up the meat with the chopsticks, placed it on the small spoon, and dipped it into the small hot pot in front of her. In fact, she didn't need to use the small spoon. Just the chopsticks were enough. However, the children in the tribe were used to using their hands. They were very bad at using chopsticks. She had to demonstrate. Even so, the children in the tribe were very busy when they were eating. The translator was also busy, but he couldn't eat yet. It wasn't that he couldn't eat. He wanted to eat, and Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would definitely support him. However, he knew that if he ate, he would be isolated when he went back. The hot pot in front of him was not for him, but for the little ancestors. Rules were rules. The children in the tribe were all very honest. They felt that there was a distance between the small pot and the place where they ate, so they proposed to move the small table forward. After hearing the translator's words, Xiao Bei was very helpless. She stopped and said, "No, it's burning charcoal. There's charcoal poison, which is carbon monoxide. Brother and sister said that this thing will come into contact with the red blood cells, and then squeeze out the oxygen molecules. Then we will be poisoned. We are children and can't bear it. If it was in the open, it would be fine. However, we are in a tent now. You have to bear with it. Look at us, aren't we the same? Aya, you don't understand, right? Anyway, it's fine as long as you know that you can be poisoned." Xiao Bei actually didn't know what carbon monoxide was. She had never seen it before, but she believed that this thing was the same as what her brother and sister said. Her brother and sister wouldn't lie to her. If they said that it was impossible, it was definitely impossible. Furthermore, it was definitely related to her body, not a matter of money. Xiao Bei still had some impression of throwing the big pearls on the marble floor when she was young. She couldn't understand why she did that back then. Now the big pearls were still at home. It was probably good luck that they threw them for fun. She wouldn't throw them again. That was money. Her brother and sister were really too much. They let her and the others throw such big pearls to play with. She hoped that her younger brothers and sisters wouldn't break them now. Luckily, there was a house and they could play inside. However, they shouldn't break the glass. Pee and the like were unavoidable. That was Agarwood. When she thought of the things she used in the past being ruined by her younger brothers and sisters, Xiaobei didn't know what to do. She pursed her lips and ate a mouthful of venison. What's wrong with our family's most lively Xiaobei? Zhang Xiaobao didn't pay attention to Simo Duomo, who was eating hot pot with them. He just smiled at Duo and then focused on his younger brothers and sisters. I'm thinking about the problem of the house, Xiaobei said very honestly. Wang Wan was stunned for a moment and tried hard to think of a house. Zhang Xiaobao immediately said, when I first made a house for you, my thoughts were very simple. It was to let my younger brothers and sisters have their own space. The price didn't matter. How much money could be exchanged for the happy smiles of my younger brothers and sisters? Yes, that was the best house in Tang. Even your emperor uncle was jealous. Today, it was the only one in the world with a Mercury dynamic balance foundation and a back connection structure. It was the only one in the world with a chain design. It was the only one in the world with a self-floating water supply structure. It was the only one in the world with a constant temperature heating and air changing system. Back then, our Grandpa Bai and the others kept an eye on your house all day because they knew that your sister and I would always put the most advanced things in your house. The most important thing was the wood agarwood. In fact, it wasn't valuable. What was valuable was its concept. Now, do you want to know what the house that Jiziang Grui is using now looks like? Do you want to know how safe it is for them to play in it? Yes. The 9 little guys shouted in unison. They could also go in now, but the height was a little low. However, this house was very big and was also relatively high. If the adults didn't straighten up when they went in, they wouldn't hit their heads. What house? Simo Domo suddenly interrupted. He felt that he was left out. It has nothing to do with you. Anyway, don't expect the children in your tribe to live there. That house is ours. The function of the house, if I say it out loud, you will be scared to death. The function is the place to use it. Anyway, you don't understand. Brother, hurry up and tell us, what has become of the house now? Xiaobei explained to Simo Domo, then shook his head. He felt that he shouldn't say it. The other party wouldn't understand. Zhang Xiaobao answered under the anticipation of his younger brothers and sisters. There are more things in the house now. One is the oxygen supply, and the other is the battery heating. Why? Yes, why? Xiaobei asked very cooperatively. Then, she stared at her brother with her big eyes. What she meant was that she had cooperated with him once. Next time, she wouldn't cooperate with him at a critical moment. Moi. Zhang Xiaobao kissed his sister hard. This kind of silent communication was the most intimate. Others only thought that his sister was asking questions, but he knew that his sister wasn't asking questions. She was angry. It was a big favor for her to compromise for him. Brother, if you don't say it, I will tell my mother, grandfather, and grandmother when we go home. I will say that you are deliberately keeping them in suspense. Let's see who they will side with. Xiaobei threatened again. You should tell your emperor and let him control your brother, Simo Domo said to Xiaobei as if they were close friends. Xiaobei turned his head and pursed his lips. Are you stupid? I was just saying it to my brother, but you took it seriously. If I took it seriously, it would be useless no matter who I looked for. Even if I looked for my grandparents, they would tell me to beat your brother when we see him. In the end, when we really saw him, we couldn't wait to feel sorry for him. Do you think I am stupid? This is a disease that needs to be treated. Brother, tell us quickly. We are all waiting. Ha 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 ha. Zhang Xiaobao laughed heartily and kissed his sister again. He said, as expected of the person in charge of foreign affairs. You are indeed amazing. Good, let me tell you. Now Jiziangrui is using your original house. There is a separate sealing system inside. That is, when the overall pressure from the outside is too strong, the house will be completely sealed immediately. Air can only go out but not in. Even the Tang Empire's Ministry of Works doesn't have such a thing. They use an automatic response system that your sister specially designed. There are oxygen cylinders inside. When there is an external force, they will open in a chain. The principle is very simple. It is a passive lever structure in gears. Now your sister and I are researching the light sensor system. That is, when the outside is dark, the house will immediately light up. There are batteries and light bulbs. This technology will scare people to death if it is taken out now. Unfortunately, it will not be able to be automatically controlled by computers in the next few decades. This is the regret of your sister and I. The house is also equipped with a small battery power propulsion system. It can move on its own on water. Its speed is not as fast as the current Tang Empire's most advanced small diesel engine, but it can ensure that a human-powered boat can't catch up. Also, the most important thing is the ability to fly after the hydrogen cylinders are turned on. We have added a distributed balloon connection system above the house. In an emergency, the house can fly up in 15 minutes. Zhang Xiaobao explained. Seymour Domo and Duo didn't understand. But Su Yilong's eyes were shining. She finally knew what her grandfather's generation had lost. They didn't keep an eye on the house that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family were using for their children. They had kept an eye on it. Why did they give it up now? Didn't her grandfather say before that if they wanted to see the technology level of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family, it was enough to see their children's house? Why did they forget? Was it because Xiaobei and the others didn't use that house? But they still had younger brothers and sisters. Good luck had come out. Miscalculation, a big miscalculation. Xiaobei didn't expect that the house that he used to live in had been improved so much. He looked at his brother, and then looked at his sister who was smiling. He patted his head and said, "Today people always think that the people from the Ministry of Works are the most skilled. In fact, it's my brother and sister who have mastered the most advanced technology. I don't even ask whether the house will fall down because it's flying too high. I guess it's just like in the water. When I reach a certain depth, I have to readjust my posture, and then exert my strength to go down. As long as the thickness of the balloon is enough, the house can be suspended at a certain height. Brother Xiaohai, now you know the difference, right? My brother and sister must have calculated it. When you were calculating the quadratic equations, my brother and sister calculated the relationship between the lift force, air density, and the self-gravity of the object, right?" "Yes, I'm still far from it," Xiaohai said. He knew what Xiaobei was talking about. It was the theory that his brother and sister said when they made the airship. It sounded very simple, but it was very difficult to put it into practice. He didn't expect that his brother and sister not only applied it to the airship, but also to the house filled with passive gas that was not completely sealed. How much data was needed to support that? Don't think too much. When you learn this in the future, your sister and I will teach you. When we can't teach you anymore, it means that the technology of the Tang Empire has reached a certain height. Remember, never be proud and complacent, because the knowledge that you are proud of is actually the common sense of many people. When you think that you can stand at the peak of the world because of this bit of knowledge, those who regard this as common sense will think that you are so insignificant in the starry sky. When Zhang Xiaobao talked to his younger brothers and sisters with a smile, he picked up some bean sprouts with his chopsticks and put them into the mushroom soup. Normally, one shouldn't put bean sprouts into the mushroom soup when eating. However, when cooking meat, bean sprouts must be added, because it could remove the smell of meat with its own earthy smell. It was very magical. Xiaobei and the others began to ladle the soup into the small pot in front of them. They didn't forget to teach the children in the tribe. Most importantly, each of them was given 2 ounces of yellow wine, which was being boiled in the big pot. They could drink it when it was warm. When used as a medicine, yellow wine was neither harmful nor harmful. That was to say, for many medicines that required people to abstain from alcohol, it was fine to drink less yellow wine, because it could exist in the form of non-alcohol. It was a seasoning. If it was like the formula of the Yunnan Baiyao brought by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, it was fine to drink yellow wine, because it could promote the efficacy of the medicine as wine. When it came to eating seafood with wine, Western cuisine used red wine, but it wasn't very good, because there would always be allergies. Chinese cuisine used white wine, but it wasn't very good, because there would still be cases of stomach upset, even if you ate a lot of garlic. The most authentic was yellow wine, drunk shrimp and drunk crab. If you said that you were drunk with red wine and white wine, it was not to ridicule you, but it was indeed more disgusting than drinking dry red wine mixed with Sprite. This was no longer a matter of taste, this was a matter of the intelligence of the entire family. Starting from your grandfather, there probably wasn't anyone with a high IQ. In this regard, Zhang Xiaobao didn't have to say anything, and Wang Wan handled it very well. She let her younger brothers and sisters drink some yellow wine, which was good for their health. Of course, if you drank too much, the after-effects would be very strong. Simo Domo listened to them speak and watched them eat and drink. He also learned from them. The food was indeed very delicious, especially the dozens of seasonings. He felt dizzy just looking at them, and didn't know how to choose. After that, he looked at the children and realized what seasonings Xiaobei and the others used, so Simo Domo followed suit. But what he didn't know was that Xiaobei and the others didn't use the same seasonings for everything. They would ask someone to bring a new bowl at any time, and then mix it according to the type of food. Zhang Xiaobao was also eating. As he ate, he felt that it was about time, so he asked Simo Domo, "We don't know each other very well. Can we hold a few competitions to improve our relationship?" Chapter 1336. At this moment, Simo Domo's mind was in a mess. He wanted to find out why the great Tang had come to his side. He knew that helping the Arabs had angered the great Tang, and they had even stolen many of the things stored in his tribe. Fortunately, the current season was not bad. If they had stolen the things in the winter, many people on his side would have starved to death. A group of great Tang soldiers had just left, and now another group had arrived. There were even more people than before, and the ones leading them were the legendary Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The Arabs had told him that these two were ruthless. Most importantly, in their first meeting today, the two of them did not seem to be very friendly. It seemed that he had used the wrong strategy and should have lowered his head. Now that the other side had brought up a competition, he did not know what the other side was planning. Could it be that they wanted to capture everyone on his side during the competition? With so many thoughts in his mind, the delicious taste of the hot pot gradually faded away. Simo Domo he slowly swallowed a piece of meat and looked at Zhang Xiaobao, who had suddenly become amiable, and asked, "What are we competing in?" "We can compete in anything. Hunting, fishing, chopping wood, fighting, whatever you say, we'll compete according to what you say. But the rules have to be the same, so that we can get to know each other better. Who knows, maybe we'll become a family." Zhang Xiaobao put down his chopsticks and smiled at Simo Domo he. He took a small bowl in front of him and scooped out some soup from the hot pot. "Drink the soup. It's fresh." The taste of the hot pot soup depends on how it tastes when drunk directly. If it's not fresh, then it's not a good hot pot. Good. Simo Domo also took a small bowl and imitated Zhang Xiaobao's actions. He scooped out a bowl of soup and blew on it. He raised his head and gulped down half a bowl of soup. He praised, "It's delicious." Zhang Xiaobei, and the others were speechless. "Is this how you drink soup? That's sour plum soup and mung bean soup, okay? To relieve the heat. Eat meat. We've found good meat today. Xiaobei, don't eat too much." Once again, Zhang Xiaobao invited Simo Domo to join his chopsticks. He didn't forget to shout at his younger brothers and sisters. Otherwise, if they ate too much, they wouldn't be able to sleep at night. They rubbed their stomachs and strolled around to digest the food. Xiaobei was explaining to the children of the Duo tribe how to best match the ingredients in the hot pot. He was very serious. When he heard his brother's words, he responded with a big smile and promised, "Don't worry. I won't eat so much meat today, nor will I eat rice. I'll just eat mushrooms and green vegetables. Also, I'll chew them up to help my stomach digest. Just now, I drank a bowl of soup to fill my stomach. When the soup is gone, I won't be full anymore." Zhang Xiaobao nodded. This was a good idea. He would drink the soup first, and when he felt full, he would stop and wait for the soup to be digested. He would feel better. Xiaobei turned around, picked up a plate of mushrooms, and placed it in front of the children of the tribe. "Eat mushrooms. Eating mushrooms is good for the body. Don't just eat rice. I found that you guys can eat too much. Your appetite is comparable to people with big appetites." Immediately, an interpreter helped to explain to the children. The child in front of Xiaobei quickly ate a few mouthfuls of rice. Only then did he put more than 10 mushrooms into the small hot pot. He smiled at Xiaobei embarrassedly and continued to eat. The children in the tribe liked to eat two things, venison and rice. They even knew how to soak in the soup. Duo blushed shyly and explained to Zhang Xiaobao. It's because your rice is too fragrant. We don't have the same kind of rice in our area. We eat wheat, and the meat doesn't taste good. Usually we exchange the meat with the tribe. We can only eat one meal every few days. Sometimes, according to your calendar, we can't even see meat in a month. Yes, there is no oil in the stomach, and there is little salt, so the children eat more. You don't have to worry in the future. The children eat for 10 days to half a month. Look, they won't feel hungry after eating 3 meals like now. Zhang Xiaobao understood. In the past, the children of the villagers were like the children of the tribes. One reason was that they exercised a lot and needed to grow up. Another reason was that they didn't eat much oily food. The more they ate, the poorer they became. The poorer they were, the more they could eat. Their productivity couldn't keep up, so it was useless to say anything else. When Duo and Zhang Xiaobao talked, Simo Duomo was unwilling. He admitted that he couldn't compare to the Tang people, and that he had used the wrong strategy. But he was the leader of the entire tribe. Unless he returned to the country, his status would be lowered. If he was afraid of the Tang people, how could he be on equal footing with the leaders of a small part of his tribe? So he glared at Duo and said, Duo, why didn't your people stay at the place I arranged? What are they doing here? He was speaking in his native language. Zhang Xiaobao found it difficult to translate, but he still understood what he meant. He smiled and continued to eat the meat with his chopsticks. Duo was shocked and lowered his head. Then he realized, that's not right. I won't be under your command in the future. What right do you have to criticize me? I don't have many people, 126 in total. But I'm following the Tang people now. I'm not afraid of you. Thinking of this, Duo suddenly felt very comfortable and happy. He drank a mouthful of soup and nodded in satisfaction. He pushed a plate of deer tendons in front of Simo Duomo and said with a smile, Simo Duomo, Leader Simo Duomo, try this. There's something called chili in it. It tastes very good. You're here as a guest, so don't be polite. Eat well, and eat until you're full. The meaning of these words was obvious. Duo treated himself as the host and Simo Duomo as a guest. And not as Simo Duomo's subordinate. Simo Duomo was dumbfounded. How could he not see Duo's attitude? He clearly wanted to leave the tribe. Simo Duomo couldn't say the rest of his words, nor did he touch the plate of tendons. He lowered his head, suppressed his anger, and began to think. Simo Duomo had to admit that he had never directly looked at Duo's small tribe of more than 100 people. In a small tribe of more than 100 people, there were old people, women, and children. There were far too few people who could participate in the hunt. Moreover, Duo's tribe didn't know how to grow wheat, nor did they know how to use nets to catch fish. When they finally managed to catch a few fish, they had to exchange it for wheat and salt. They were used to being bullied, and then they were sent to that outpost. He had never imagined that they would one day betray him. This was truly too infuriating. Duo, if you're not willing to go back now, I won't care. You can follow the Tang people for a while. Once the Tang people are gone, the things you earn will still be yours. I won't take them, Simo Duomo said to Duo after thinking for a while. Duo wasn't stupid. How could he not understand the meaning of his leader's words? He was clearly threatening him. Duo didn't say anything, instead looking at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao had just finished rinsing a piece of meat and was about to put it into his mouth. When he heard the conversation between the two, he also used his rather poor Hindustani to answer. Haha, Leader Simo Duomo, you don't need to worry about Duo. We'll always lead his tribe. Once the Duo people are beaten into submission and obediently give us tributes every year, I'll bring Duo and the others back to the Great Tang to live a better life. You should think about the competition. What are we competing in? Simo Duomo was shocked. He originally thought that he knew a bit of the Great Tang language and could use the local language with Duo to get around this Zhang Xiaobao. Who would have thought that Zhang Xiaobao also knew the language of his people and even stood up to help Duo? He finally understood that he wouldn't be able to control Duo and the others in the future. Betrayal. This was betrayal. If I didn't treat you well, would you betray me? Simo Duomo glared at Duoduo again, but Duoduo responded with a sneer and straightened his neck, with an attitude that said, "Do whatever you want." Simo Duomo couldn't think of any other way. He took a pair of chopsticks and put it in his mouth to chew. The more he chewed, the more satisfied he felt. The spiciness and toughness of the tendon made his whole body feel comfortable. After eating the tendon, he said to Zhang Xiaobao, "I think there's no need to compete. You guys go your own way. We can give you some things." No need to compete? Okay, then let's talk about how you helped our enemy, the Duoduo people. With your help, the Duoduo people dared to camp by the river and attack us, causing us great losses. A few people even lost their precious lives. How do you think I should settle this with you? Zhang Xiaobao slammed his chopsticks down and asked Simo Duomo with a gloomy face. The commotion around them suddenly disappeared, and everyone looked over. How could Simo Duomo have known that Zhang Xiaobao's mood would change faster than one could flip a book? He opened his mouth slightly, looked at Zhang Xiaobao, and then glanced at the various gazes staring at him. After a few breaths, he trembled and said, We helped them. In fact, it was them who threatened us. No, it wasn't us who wanted to fight with you. In other words, you were afraid of them threatening us, and then causing us to suffer great losses, because you weren't afraid of us, right? Zhang Xiaobao pressed. You didn't lose anything. We died 6 people. Zhang Xiaobao grinned, revealing his teeth. I know that the 6 people who died weren't killed by the Arabs. They died of their own accord. Simo Duomo refused to admit it. They could have died if they stayed in their own homes. If you didn't help the Duo Eaters, they wouldn't have set up camp by the river. If they didn't set up camp, we wouldn't have sent troops over. If we didn't send troops, there wouldn't have been a battle. If we didn't fight, how could our 6 people have died? And our supplies, the ammunition we used to kill the Duo Eaters, isn't that money? In order to support us in this battle, some of the great Tang people collapsed in the munitions factory from exhaustion. Others suffered heatstroke while helping to repair the road. The donkey that should have been pulling the mill didn't pull the mill. When they came here to pull things, someone had to pull the mill. Our losses were great. What did the Duo Eaters threaten you with? Tell me, and I'll treat you like how the Duo Eaters threatened you. Aren't you not afraid of my great Tang? Zhang Xiaobao slapped the table as he spoke. It sounded very reasonable. Of course, Simo Duomo couldn't tell the truth. He could say that the Arabs had agreed to give them a lot of salt after taking over the salt-producing area. After being pressed by Zhang Xiaobao, he had no choice but to lower his head and say to Zhang Xiaobao, Sir, don't be angry. What do you think we should compete in? We'll compete. Oh, I'm not angry. I'm just excited. Haha, come, eat. What are you standing around for? Eat. Leader Simo Duomo, are the tendons tasty? When you go back, I'll bring some back for you. We'll talk about the competition later. You can go back and think about it. But what I want to say is that since it's a competition, there naturally needs to be a reward. Why don't we make a bet? What do you think? Okay. What else could Simo Duomo say? He only felt sullen. He had to endure Zhang Xiaobao's constant flip-flopping because he couldn't beat the Tang. Chapter 1337. During the meal, Zhang Xiaobao was very happy and personally sent Simo Duomo out of the camp. Simo Duomo was not full yet. He had many things on his mind. At the same time, he felt a lot of pressure, so much so that it was unbearable. The people who followed him here ate quite well, especially the salted vegetables prepared by the camp. Basically, each of them ate at least 2 plates. Finally, they saw salt that was free and not bitter to eat. They reckoned that they could drink water to their heart's content before going back to sleep. Walking back in the darkness, Simo Duomo was still regretting that he had chosen the wrong person. He shouldn't have been swayed by the Arab's words. Even if the king had ordered him to stay so far away, disobeying a little wouldn't have been a big deal. He had helped the Arabs, but he hadn't received any benefits. Now that trouble had come, the king had offered no help at all. He didn't believe that the king wouldn't be able to get some information. It seemed that just like how he didn't care about Duoduo's 100-some men, The king didn't care about him. The stakes are too high. You want to wipe out my clan? As Seymour Domoga walked, he remembered the last bet they had discussed. He stopped and looked up at the sky, muttering to himself. The sky was pretty good tonight. There were stars twinkling, and there was also a crescent moon. But Seymour Domo always felt very oppressed, as if there was going to be a heavy rain. The content of the competition was decided by him. When the time came, both sides would discuss the specific rules to ensure fairness. However, the stakes could not be changed. If the tribe won, they would be forgiven by the great Tang. Furthermore, in the future, large amounts of salt would be sent to them every year. Just like what they ate today, there was no bitter taste, just a comforting saltiness. If they lost, the tribe would have to follow the Tang people. They would hunt, carry things, and dig for wild vegetables. Of course, they would also be able to obtain salt. However, the food would depend on what the Tang people gave them. There was definitely no good rice, and there were other foods that they had never seen before. King, let's fight it out with them. He didn't know what had happened to the king, but he could feel that the king was not happy. That's right, one of the bodyguards said to Simo Domoga. Using the light of the moon and stars, Simo Duomo looked at the person who was speaking. The corners of his mouth moved as if he was mocking himself. He said, "Fight? More than 3,000 of us? They won't be afraid of us dying in front of them. They won't hesitate to kill us. Go back and have a good rest today. I'll think of something." The group sped up and returned to their home. The place where Seymour Domo lived was not bad. It was not a shack. He had a stone house, a courtyard, and a woman in the courtyard. Today, he was not in the mood to pamper the women. He knew that he had to think of a few good competitions to win against the Great Tang people first. As for whether the Great Tang people would be angry after winning, the worst result would be that he would lead his people to act together with the Great Tang people, as if they had lost. As for the children, they ate the candy and were taken care of by Xiao Bei and the others. He didn't betray the tribe, but the tribe didn't treat him as a member of the tribe. The happy Duo did not care about his own people when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were drinking tea. He joined in the fun. He had never drunk something that was a little bitter, and then a little sweet. Zhang Xiaobao was in charge of making tea. He did not put out the kung fu tea. There was an outsider, and an outsider who did not understand kung fu tea. Zhang Xiaobao felt that it was better to just chat casually instead of explaining from beginning to end. It was just a teapot filled with tea leaves. He washed it and then poured it into the three people's tea bowls. Duo was not afraid of the heat. After pouring more than half a bowl, he drank it directly. He watched as Zhang Xiaobao refilled it and drank it again. The bitter taste in his mouth seemed to be very comfortable. "Fill it up for me. There's always a gap." Duo found that every time Zhang Xiaobao poured tea for him, there was still a gap between the bowl and the mouth. He felt that he was drinking less. Zhang Xiaobao still poured more than half a bowl for Duo and explained, "It's rude to fill the bowl with tea. It's not convenient to hold the bowl when drinking. In our Tang, it's called bullying the guest when the tea is full. When you go to the Tang in the future, you must be careful. What competition do you think Seymour Duomo will propose?" Wang Wan slowly lifted her own tea bowl and drank gently. She tasted 2 small sips and then drank a big mouthful. She also thought about Duo. After all, the other party was the most familiar with the local traditions. Duo first felt that Zhang Xiaobao's words about not filling the bowl to the brim were very interesting. Then he was stumped. He also could not guess what kind of competition the original chief would propose. It seemed that his people had no advantage over the people of the Great Tang. Competing in eating and drinking? The difference was too big. Competing in hunting? The Great Tang people had guns. Competing in fighting with warriors? When Zhang Xiaobao set up camp at night, the knife that suddenly appeared seemed to be very powerful. Shaking his head, Duo said embarrassedly, "I don't know. Maybe it's a competition of strength to move big stones." "Oh." Zhang Xiaobao nodded and began to ponder. He tried to determine if the people on Simo Domo's side were strong or not. According to their race, daily nutrition and training, he found that the people on Simo Domo's side did not have any advantage. There were a few strong people in his team who were born with great strength. There's no need to think about what competition. If there are rules, we can continue to talk. Wang Wan was very relaxed and did not seem to be anxious. That's right. If they want to move stones, we can add tools in the rules. I don't believe that their tools can be compared to ours, Zhang Xiaobao said with a smile. He raised his head and drank the tea in the bowl. Then he poured more for the 3 people. Duo drank and felt that this thing called tea was very magical. In the past, he had only heard about it from others but had never tasted it. Even the people of Great Tang who saved him did not let him drink it. He watched as Zhang Xiaobao squeezed a small ball into the flask and poured the water non-stop. The water that flowed out had that smell, so he drank as much as he could. He wanted to see if the small ball would always have that smell. In addition to the food he had eaten before, he finally could not drink anymore. He could only slow down and ask, "Why does this tea always have that taste?" "Because this is good tea. It can be brewed more than 10 times. Now it has only been brewed 4 times. If it's your first time drinking, I advise you not to drink too much. Otherwise, you will get drunk and can't sleep at night." Zhang Xiaobao finally understood why Duo kept staring at the teapot and drinking. He wanted to drink until the tea lost its taste to verify his guess. How persistent was he? A persistent man was very cute, even though he was a little darker, thinner, and shorter. Duo nodded repeatedly. So it was not that the tea could be brewed continuously. It was because the tea was good. As for why he could not sleep, he would know at night. Leader Simo used to have tea before, but he never let me drink it. He treated it like a treasure. Is it not as good as your tea? Duo recalled something and drank another sip. He felt better. The leader did not let him drink before, but now he could drink it. Zhang Xiaobao continued to pour water for him. Yes, the tea that Simo drank was fermented black tea. If it was the tea that he got 20 years ago, he could not bear to drink it. Now it is not bad. What we drank was green tea. Even if he kept the black tea for 20 years, it would not be as valuable as our tea now. Because no one would bring good black tea here, the good tea was sold in Great Tang. Anyway, you don't know how to drink it, so it would be a waste to give it to you. Duo sighed. He knew that Zhang Xiaobao was telling the truth, but it was really a blow. He wanted to know the value of the tea, so he asked, "How much salt can it be exchanged for?" Zhang Xiaobao was speechless. Wang Wan smiled. Did they have to use salt to calculate the value of everything? The pot of tea that we drank is enough for 126 of you to eat for half a year, including the cost of transporting it. Zhang Xiaobao kindly gave a rough estimate. Duo rubbed his stomach and said, "I can still drink it. If I continue to brew it, it will lose its taste." "You can still drink it tomorrow. We brought a lot of tea," Zhang Xiaobao kindly advised. Duo firmly said, "Brew it." After thinking for a while, he asked, "If Simo did not work with the Arabs to fight Great Tang, would I not have met you?" A smile appeared on Zhang Xiaobao's face. After a pause, he said, "You were too close to Great Tang. You didn't use this area very well. It's just that if we met in that situation, we wouldn't know if we were friends or foes." "Forget it, there are no ifs." Duo understood. No matter what Simo chose, the Tang would eventually come. It was just like how a large tribe would eventually occupy a small tribe. "It's good that you came. Drink some tea." Duo rubbed his stomach and felt that he could drink again. So he signaled to Zhang Xiaobao to pour some tea for him. The next morning, everyone else was very energetic, but Duo's eyes were a little bloodshot. Even after washing his face with cold water 3 times, he was still in a daze. He finally understood why one could not drink too much tea. Yesterday he was the only one drinking tea. Afterward, he felt a little dizzy and returned to his tent. Before lying down, his head hurt a little. He wanted to sleep, but when he lay down, he found that he could not. He still had a headache. After some time, his head no longer hurt, but he still could not sleep. Thinking and thinking, he finally fell asleep in a daze. But just as he closed his eyes, someone came to wake him up for breakfast. After washing his face 3 times and drinking a bowl of porridge, Duo felt a little better. He advised Zhang Xiaobao, who had finished breakfast first and was drinking tea with a small pot. "You can't drink too much tea. It will make you feel guilty, and then you won't be able to sleep." Thank you for reminding me. I changed to a small pot. Zhang Xiaobao thanked Duoduo very seriously. The one with redder eyes than Duoduo was Simo Domo, who did not drink tea yesterday and also did not rest well. When he woke up in the morning, he did not eat. He simply washed up and brought 25 people to the great Tang camp. He was led to see Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Along the way he smelled the porridge. When he saw Zhang Xiaobao, he also smelled the faint fragrance of tea. His stomach growled. Leader Simo Domo, have you thought about what you want to compete? Zhang Xiaobao asked very kindly. He even took a small tea bowl and poured tea for Simo Domo. Simo Domo first nodded his head and expressed his thanks. Then he said, I've thought it through. 3. 2 wins. Chapter 1338. Alright, best of 3. What's the content? Zhang Xiaobao asked casually. Simo Domo was not as relaxed as Zhang Xiaobao. He raised a finger and said, climbing. Let's see who can climb faster. Duoduo suddenly said, there's a cliff with water below. Will we climb there? Yes, that's it. Simo Domo finally smiled. He felt that his men were familiar with the terrain. Zhang Xiaobao blinked and asked, what about the second one? Swimming. Swimming under the water. Let's see who can swim further. Simo Domo had been staring at Zhang Xiaobao. He wanted to see Zhang Xiaobao's expression. Zhang Xiaobao blinked again and asked, what about the third one? Simo Domo, who did not see anything, raised a third finger and said, throwing dice. Zhang Xiaobao was finally stunned. He seemed to be very surprised. People from the Indian region knew how to play dice. He asked, how do we play dice? Simo Domo was satisfied. He finally saw Zhang Xiaobao's expression change. He smiled and said, haha, it's simple. 3 dice, from 3 to 18. Throw them into a bowl. Whoever gets the highest number wins. Alright. But I want to see the dice first. Have the rules for the other 2 been decided? The simplest one is that during the competition, can we attack each other? Zhang Xiaobao asked. He was afraid that Xiao Bei would not be able to win against the adults underwater. What Simo Domo was thinking was that if they could attack each other and the other party used guns, wouldn't they die before they could do anything? He shook his head and said, we can't attack. We can only worry about ourselves. Alright, we'll start in the afternoon. I'll choose the people. Zhang Xiaobao agreed without hesitation. The competition that the other party suggested was beneficial to his side. If they were to compete in hand-to-hand combat, it would be very easy for his people to be in danger. If they were to play a game of fighting alone with a pack of wolves, he would have to admit defeat. Otherwise, people would really die. Simo Domoga left happily. He went back to prepare and sleep first. Zhang Xiaobao found Xiao Bei and told her to compete with him in diving and swimming. Xiao Bei was very excited. She nodded vigorously in agreement and began to prepare the tools. She realized that the rules did not say that she could not bring an airbag down. Su Yilong also took this opportunity to find Xiao Yuan. When they reached the place, she wanted to fulfill the promise of the competition. She wanted Xiao Yuan to find a place with good scenery, so that the 2 of them could compose a poem. Xiao Yuan wasn't afraid at all. She said that after the competition with the locals in the afternoon, if it didn't rain at night, they could look at the scenery as the sun set. Zhang Xiaobao estimated the time, ate some meat, and lay down to sleep. He also sent people to the cliff to see how deep the water was, and whether there were any shallow reefs. He didn't want to accidentally fall to his death. The pool where Xiao Bei was going to compete in diving also had to be checked. If there were big water snakes or other water monsters, Xiao Bei might not be able to handle them. In the end, when Zhang Xiaobao woke up in the afternoon, the people who went to report that the cliff and the lake were the same place. The water was very clean and deep. There were big fish in it, but they couldn't dive too deep. There were water plants. Hence, Xiao Bei brought 2 small knives with her to cut the water plants. Zhang Xiaobao deliberately went to the toilet. He didn't eat lunch and only drank some soup to adjust his body to its best condition. The group of people came to the lake where Simo Domoga's tribe was. Simo Domoga had also woken up and brought people to welcome them. Everyone in the tribe had basically gathered. Only those who were farther away, like Duo, didn't know the news. Anyway, Seymour Demoga didn't care. Everyone already understood that the 3 bets today would affect their fate. If they won, they would have good days and no longer have to worry about salt. If they lost, they would have to work for others. Moreover, they didn't know what would happen in the future. What shall we compete in first? Zhang Xiaobao looked up at the cliff. On the west side of the lake, there was a cliff. The bottom of the cliff was hollowed out by the water. On the east side, there was a mountain that extended into the water. The bottom of the mountain was also hollowed out, but it wasn't as serious as the west side. Zhang Xiaobao knew at a glance that a river had once passed by, and it was a very big river. It formed a canyon, and then turned into a lake. The west side was affected by the Earth's rotation, so the impact of the water was stronger. There was no way to know the specific changes, but the local scenery was indeed very good, especially the lake. It was suitable for farming and raising fish and prawns. After completely occupying it in the future, he had to build a beautiful restaurant with a polo field, a football field, a table tennis court, and all kinds of football fields. Water polo couldn't be left out. The more he thought about it, the more Zhang Xiaobao felt that the future was better. For a moment, he began to design the layout according to the scenery in front of him. Let's compete in dice first, Zhang Xiaobao. Simo Demoka's voice interrupted Zhang Xiaobao's thoughts. Yes, we can also build a casino. Zhang Xiaobao clapped his hands and said happily. Then he turned his head and looked at Simo Demoka. Okay, dice. Are you ready? Simo Demoka nodded and brought Zhang Xiaobao to the front of his courtyard. There was a place that looked like a square. It seemed to be used for some kind of ceremony. There were a few people in the tribe wearing clothes that were of good quality. They were fine linen and had color. They stood beside a bowl. Zhang Xiaobao understood that they were witnesses. They were afraid that he would go back on his word. He nodded to Duo and Wang Wan. The two of them also stood over. Looking at the bowl, Wang Wan praised. Not bad, it's made of ivory. Then she said to Duo, your tribe doesn't lack good things. Duo looked at Simo Demoka with anger in his eyes. You use ivory things, but no one cares if my children starve to death. Simo Demoka didn't have the mood to care about Duo. His attention was focused on Zhang Xiaobao. He waved his hand and someone brought over a box with beautiful carvings. He opened the box and there were a few dice inside. He signaled to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao looked at them. The dice were also made of ivory. It was the same as the ones used in Tang. There were 6 sides and the number of points was the same. So he took out the dice one by one and weighed them in his hand. In the end, he picked out 3 that were about the same weight. They felt good. It seemed that they were often played with. Let me try a few throws. After Zhang Xiaobao finished speaking, he didn't wait for Simo Demoka's agreement. He picked up a dice and threw it into the bowl. He took it out and changed to another one. He did the same 3 times. Then he threw 2 pairs of dice into the bowl. In the end, he threw 3 dice together. Okay, let's start. Who's going first? Zhang Xiaobao threw a few rounds and asked Simo Demoka. Simo Demoka didn't say anything. He also took the dice. Like Zhang Xiaobao, he tried it. Compared to Zhang Xiaobao's casual manner, his hands were sweaty. After thinking for a while, he said to Zhang Xiaobao, you go first. Best of 3 wins. Okay. Zhang Xiaobao happily agreed. He took the dice and wiped them on a white cotton cloth. He weighed them. The 3 dice lined up in a row in Zhang Xiaobao's palm. Zhang Xiaobao's flat hand suddenly flipped, and the 3 dice spun into the bowl. There was some distance between each dice and they didn't collide with each other. After they spun a few rounds in the bowl, and were about to stop at the bottom of the bowl, there was a slight contact. When they stopped, 3 sixes appeared in the bowl. The spectators looked at the 3 sixes in astonishment. Then they looked up at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao's expression was indifferent. When he met Wang Wan's gaze, there was a hint of embarrassment. This was because he had cheated. Normally, when throwing dice, one couldn't make the dice rotate around a single point. That way, one could easily grasp the state of the dice when they stopped. Moreover, although it looked like he was throwing them together, there was a sequence to prevent them from colliding. But people nowadays didn't pay attention to this, so he cheated to bully others. Of course, he first had to have a strong foundation. Otherwise, even if he knew the theory, he wouldn't be able to throw it. Simo Damoka didn't know that there was such a trick. When he used it against Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, his hands would be chopped off. In an instant he was sweating all over. The sweat on his forehead gathered together and dripped down his temples and eyebrows. He knew that what he saw was definitely not a coincidence. 3 sixes. Why did he choose this kind of game? He had met an expert. Simo Damoka, please. Zhang Xiaobao gestured with his hand. Simo Damoka used his sleeves to wipe his sweat and rubbed his hands on his body. He trembled as he picked up the dice in the bowl. He put his hands together and shook them while chanting. When he opened his hands again, the 3 dice hit each other in the ivory bowl and made a crisp sound. When he stopped, it was 4-5-3. The spectators in the tribe were disappointed. They felt that their leader wasn't performing well. Usually when he threw, he would always throw a big number. 6, 6, 6, 6 was also possible. Zhang Xiaobao picked up the dice again. Just like before, he gently shook it twice. The 3 dice faced up and lined up in a row. There was a gap in the middle. He then continued to throw. This time there was finally a deviation. The dice in the bowl were 6, 6, 4. Zhang Xiaobao smacked his lips. I missed. The last bit of hope in Simo Damoka's heart disappeared. He confirmed with Zhang Xiaobao that he was not stupid. When he picked up the die again, his hands were trembling even more. His whole body was trembling as well. With a crash, when the die came to a stop, he swayed a few times and gasped for breath. Only then did he not collapse. He then looked at Zhang Xiaobao and laughed. He, I also got 6, 6, 4. Congratulations. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care at all. He did the same thing as before. He waved his hands and the dice stopped. 6, 6, 6, 6. He said to Simo Damoka, please. Simo Damoka reached out to take the dice. Suddenly he raised his left hand and grabbed his left chest. His face was pale, his eyes were wide open, and his mouth was open. His body slowly fell. His psychological quality is too bad. Quick, doctor, take a look. Don't let him die. Zhang Xiaobao knew what was going on. Was there a need to be so nervous? It was just a competition. A doctor immediately came over and listened to his heartbeat. He took his pulse and opened Simo Damoka's mouth. He let him sit there and took out a nitroglycerin tablet and put it under his tongue. After waiting for a while, Simo Damoka's face finally returned to normal. His lips were no longer purple, but his eyes were still hollow. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Simo Damoka's state and was in a dilemma. He wanted to remind him that he hadn't thrown the dice yet, but he was afraid that if he said that, his eyes would roll back. Chapter 1339. What did you feed me just now? Seymour Duomo waited for a while before he regained his senses. The first thing he thought of was not gambling, but something that could save his life. Zhang Xiaobao could understand this, and at the same time, he was not afraid of revealing his secret. He explained, it's a type of medicine. At first, the people who made this medicine wanted to use it to help with explosives. Later, it was used in war. For example, the weapons we are using now contain this thing. But at the same time, it can also save people. The effect is very good, like what you are doing now. But let me tell you the truth. Your illness is not that simple. Otherwise, the doctor would have given you the quick-acting heart rescue pill, and not the nitroglycerin tablets. Did you suffer from the same illness in the past? The doctor's methods are very good. Seymour Duomo did not really understand, but he knew that the Tang Dynasty's medical skills were very good, whether it was killing or saving people. He was now worried about what Zhang Xiaobao said. He did suffer in the past. Could it be that he was in a very dangerous situation now? Zhang Xiaobao also thought so. He did not know why the doctor gave Seymour Duomo nitroglycerin, and not the heart rescue pill, because nitroglycerin was cheap. The heart rescue pill needed to be added with other medicines, and the cost was high. It was not worth it to use it on outsiders. As for these Chinese medicine formulas, both Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan easily obtained them. Wang Wan's family background was there, while Zhang Xiaobao's was simple. He just had to go overseas. The formulas that were kept secret in the country had to be told honestly when they were sold overseas. Some formulas even had to be told about the process. This was because the foreigners would doubt if there were any harmful substances in the production process. At the same time, the taboos and side effects were written very clearly. It was unlike in China. When you read the instructions, the taboos and side effects would be unknown or not clear. At that time, it really scared the people in China for a while. Later, when the internet was developed and basic education in English was available, everyone jumped over the wall to look for information. No one knew if this was the misfortune or luck of the smart people. Conflicts were everywhere. Zhang Xiaobao could even obtain additional benefits in this kind of struggle. As long as he used some small tricks, he would be able to obtain many secret recipes. Then he could change his appearance and take them out to swindle money. Then, they would work together with the local drug dealers to increase the price of medicinal herbs. Now was the time for him and Wang Wan to play their roles. In other words, the two of them had been playing their roles all along. They had saved a lot of detours. From the production of nitroglycerin to its application, the process had been smooth. Not a single person had died. It was very miraculous. They had to thank those who had died before. Right now, Seymour Domo and Zhang Xiaobao were not clear about the specifics of the situation. The doctor, who was clear about the situation, was very clear about the cost of the heart-saving pill and the things that could be used as explosives. Furthermore, he was also clear that when the heart-saving pill was not effective, he had to eat explosives. The explosives worked quickly. Therefore, Zhang Xiaobao and Seymour Domo both felt that Seymour Domo was about to die. If his illness acted up again in the future, he would definitely not be able to survive. Zhang Xiaobao felt that if Seymour Domo was willing to lead his tribe to serve him, he could always provide him with medicine and tell him what to pay attention to, just like how he treated Li Longji and his family. Seymour Domo felt that if Zhang Xiaobao could prevent him from dying, there was nothing wrong with leading the tribe to follow him. If he died, would the tribe still listen to him? Thinking of this, Seymour Domo stood up again, took the dice and casually threw it into the bowl. When the dice stopped, the numbers 1, 1, 2, 3 and 3 appeared. I lost this round. Seymour Domo said calmly. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan understood. The two of them looked at each other and saw joy and sadness in each other's eyes. They were happy that they had taken down the tribe, but sad that a leader had lost his will to fight and betrayed not only himself. In the face of life and death, Seymour Domo had lost. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew each other very well. If the other was the leader now, they would definitely fight to the last moment. Even if they lost, they would not let the other side look down on them. Thus, they would fight for more benefits. Leader Seymour Domo, what's the second round? Zhang Xiaobao did not cheer and asked very calmly. You say. Seymour Domo was also very straightforward. His meaning was very clear. They would compete in whichever one you felt had the greatest chance of winning. Zhang Xiaobao looked up at the cliff. Xiao Bei, who was beside him, quickly said, "Let's compete in diving. Let me do it. I haven't swum to my heart's content in a long time. Let me do it." Okay, let's compete in diving. Let's see who can swim further. Zhang Xiaobao agreed. Seymour Domo was in a difficult position. He thought that Zhang Xiaobao's side would have a very strong person, but he did not expect that it would be a little girl. They would definitely lose. When the time came, they would win by climbing the cliff. They had the salt, but where was the medicine? Actually, we can. It's diving. Zhang Xiaobao did not let Seymour Domo finish his sentence. Seymour Domo sighed secretly. He looked at the person beside him and gave him a lot of hints. The person he was hinting at nodded vigorously. Only then did he let out a sigh of relief. The two sides began to change their clothes. Xiao Bei wore a very large set of clothes, while the tribesman only wore a small pocket around his waist. If his opponent was not a girl, he probably would not have given up on such a cumbersome thing. The two stood by the lake. With Zhang Xiaobao's order, they both dove into the water at the same time. As soon as they entered, they disappeared. After a while, the people on the shore could vaguely see a blurry thing moving forward under the water. Time passed slowly. Sweat appeared on Seymour Domo's forehead again. He hated that he could not personally jump into the water and catch the tribesmen. He had hinted just now, but he did not expect that this idiot would think that he was asking him to persist. You persisted until the end. How much longer can I persist? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan began to look at their watches. 3 minutes had passed. The two could not help but worry. They were not worried about Xiao Bei, but the other party. They could no longer see the figure under the water. It was too far away. After waiting for another minute, a head finally appeared on the surface of the water in front of them. Seeing this head, Seymour Domo did not know whether to be happy or sad. He did not wait for the other head. If that head did not appear, would Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan kill all the tribesmen in his tribe? That was their sister. At this moment, everyone felt that time was passing very slowly. It was as if they could hear their own heartbeat. Every beat was very clear. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the surface of the lake. 2 long minutes passed just like that. Just as Seymour Domo was about to send a few more people over to take a look, Xiao Bei's head finally appeared from a further place. She then placed her hands in front of her chest and treaded on the water as she walked back. From her upper body, it could be seen that she had taken off her bloated outer clothes. Inside, she was wearing a swimsuit. The tribesmen looked at Xiao Bei, who was treading on the water, as if they were looking at Buddha. She had been underwater for so long, but she was actually fine and came back alive. As she got closer, Xiao Bei did not show any joy on her face. Instead, the corners of her mouth turned downwards. She looked very unhappy as she opened and closed her eyes. When she got closer to the shore, the tribesmen on the shore were shocked. Xiao Bei's hands under her chest were digging into the eyes of a fish. That fish did not look small. Zhang Xiaobao quickly waded into the water to help. It was a carp. Zhang Xiaobao weighed it twice and estimated that it was around 12 to 3 catties. If he was in the water, he would not touch it unless his head was out of the water. Such a big fish would kill him. After throwing the fish back with all his strength, Zhang Xiaobao carried his sister and said, "Amazing." Xiao Bei whispered into his brother's ear, "I don't feel any sense of accomplishment at all. I thought he was very powerful, but in the water, his speed was so slow. I didn't even need to take a breath before I ran in front of him, leaving him far behind. By the time I needed to take a breath, I was already a long way away from the surface of the water. If I had known, I would not have cheated. That would have been faster. Even if he held his breath for 10 minutes, what was the use if he could not swim the distance? I felt that this was very unfair to him, so I took a few breaths and caught a fish. Brother, don't you think it's amazing? There are carps here too. It's amazing. In the future, we will not cheat when we deal with him. Where is the thing?" Zhang Xiaobao replied softly. "It sank with the heavy object. I used up my qi. If we still have to bring the heavy object back, how are we going to get the fish? Let's make fish soup tonight. 1 fish is enough for us to drink." Xiao Bei still had a look of regret on her face. She had overestimated her opponent. On the shore, Shima Duomo's eyes revealed happiness, but his face was full of pain. He glanced at his tribesmen and shouted, "We have lost. I know that all of you think the same as me and are unwilling to leave here, but we have to abide by our oath. We have lost the bet. From today onwards, we will follow the Tang people. We have to go to dangerous places, but we do not lack warriors. I believe that the places that the Tang people can go to will not be difficult for us. Now, I want to ask the Tang people if they are willing to abide by the bet and provide us with enough salt in the days that we follow them." As he shouted, Shima Duomo looked at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao immediately cooperated and shouted, "We are willing." Did you hear that? Although we have lost some things, we have also gained some things. Now go back and take the useful tools at home. Don't not come back. That is against the bet. Buddha will punish you. I will send troops to catch you back." Shima Duomo shouted at the people around him again. Except for the original people on his side, those who came later immediately turned around and left to get the things. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Shima Duomo's confident look and could guess what was going on. The important materials were in the hands of Shima Duomo. If those people did not come back, once they lost the resources here, they would have a hard time in the future. They might even die because of lack of things. Zhang Xiaobao really admired Shima Duomo. He could hide the idea of surrendering so deeply and speak of it so openly. If he did not consider his illness, but really knew the gap between his tribe and the Tang Empire, and thus gave up his independence, he was really great. Someone in the crowd on the shore was not satisfied and said to the person next to him, "Is it over? What about our competition?" "Now is fine," Xiao Yuan said to Su Yilong. Chapter 1340. Su Yilong and the 9 little guys did not participate. They stayed by the lake, looking at the mountain, the water, and the cliff hanging upside down. "Are we not waiting for the sunset?" Su Yilong's body trembled as she asked Xiao Yuan. He was excited. He had been suppressed all the way and never had the chance to show off his ability. He was always looking at the 9 little guys' performance. At this moment, he felt that he finally got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He would defeat Xiao Yuan first and then defeat them one by one. Xiao Yuan looked up at the sun and quickly closed his eyes, saying, "We're not waiting. Maybe we'll be busy with other things later. Right now, this mountain, this water, this warm sun, and the slowly floating clouds. Of course, if you pick up a fish and write about it, it's fine too." Last question, is it writing modern poetry? What modern poetry? Su Yilong did not understand. Brother and sister will write it occasionally. It's a modern poetry written strictly according to the standard requirements. It's divided into 5 or 7 words. The standard poems and quatrains are different according to the beginning and end of the cycle. For example, "No need, we're not writing this. The rules are too strict and affect our performance." Writing poetry is not about rules, it's about expressing one's inner feelings, understand? Su Yilong was confused and quickly interrupted Xiao Yuan, saying with a guilty conscience. Xiao Yuan followed the good advice. "Okay, not following the rules. Writing poetry can express one's feelings. Isn't it the same if it's written in vernacular? It's like a newspaper story." "Yes, it's the same. But don't you think that poetry can better reflect one's literary level?" "Beauty knowledge," Su Yilong advised. "Isn't modern poetry more beautiful? Is it more knowledgeable?" Xiao Yuan continued. "Let's not think about this today, okay? Let's talk about poetry. I'll go first. Do you see that cliff?" Su Yilong also knew that she could not win against Xiao Yuan on the same topic because she used double standards, so she quickly changed the topic. Xiao Yuan looked in the direction Su Yilong pointed and nodded. "I see it. There's a depression below." "Very good, the poem is out. The first sentence, I see the cliff is depressed. The second sentence, why? We're leaving." Xiao Bei's voice suddenly sounded. She stared at Su Yilong unhappily. "Are you playing with us? I can follow up with your question. Why is there a groove? When I turn my head to look at the other side, there is also a groove there." "Haha, Xiao Bei, you're so cute. I'm just kidding. I'm not done yet. Wait, let's start. The water surface is boundless, reflecting the cliff. The mountains and ridges are hard to stop the rushing current. The movement and stillness are in harmony with the quiet and distant." After Su Yilong finished speaking, she looked at the 9 little guys and waited. After waiting for a while, seeing that they did not respond, she asked, "How is it?" "To be honest, I don't know what it means." Xiao Bei pouted and said to Su Yilong, "Yes, you are still young and can't understand so deeply. It's my fault." Su Yilong was helpless and had to apologize to the 9 children. "Actually, it's not your fault. Let Lil Yuan do it. Lil Yuan, tell us a jingle. It has to be like a nursery rhyme." Lil Bei revealed a big smile to Su Yilong and instructed Lil Yuan. Xiao Yuan nodded and looked at the surrounding scenery. She raised her hand and pointed. The birds on the trees are chirping, and the water flowing under the trees is splashing. The fish and shrimp swam and swam until they reached the end of the cliff. There were vines halfway up the mountain, and green grass was sprouting. "Can those wild vegetables be eaten? We have to dig them up. Hee hee, it's really nice. Lil Yuan, you're not bad. Continue to work hard, and you'll be very powerful in the future." After listening to the nursery rhyme made by Xiao Yuan, Su Yilong felt that it was very difficult for such a big child to be able to write the rhyme. She quickly praised him and looked like a teacher. Her smile was so reserved and conceited. Xiao Yuan smiled shyly, then pointed to the tree and said, "The birds on the trees are chirping, and they complain about the world when they reach the top of the mountain. Chun Xian's hair is frosty and she's young. She's like a destroyed king, and she's killed in battle. She's like a gentleman, and she's worshipping the temple. My song Ru Feng always praises and she's like a poem." Su Yilong was stunned when she heard it. She just felt that it was not easy for a child to write the rhyme, but in the blink of an eye, he started to use the rhyme. Moreover, it ran through the book of songs and praised the elegance. It was about a woman in a family who supported the family business on her own. Every time she reached the top of the mountain, she would complain about the long journey. There were elders and children in the family, and her husband was ordered to kill in the flames of war. This was fighting together with the king in order to open up new territory. Whether it was her song or your wind, they were praises. Was it a rhyme? This was actually called life. Using rolling ears, Rufan, Zhanbei Luoi, Wui, Wu, and Guanzi. Was this kind of ability something a child could have? Now that they were going to take the imperial examination and advancement examination, it was really easy to solve the questions. It was too demoralizing. This rhyme is better than the previous one. Brother Yilong, don't you think so? Xiao Yuan continue. I like to listen to rhymes the most. I don't understand any poems. Xiaobei's voice was still so sweet, and her smile was still bright. Su Yilong looked at the rippling lake in front of her that was blown by the wind. She really wanted to jump in and never come up again. It was so embarrassing. She even wanted to show off in front of Xiao Yuan. She finally came up with 4 lines, but Xiao Yuan used the rhyme right away. This was an impromptu poem. No one gave you time to think about it one by one. It tested not only your quick wit, but also your foundation. How was it possible? Su Yilong felt that she was a failure, especially when she heard what Xiaobei said. Why was the usually cute smile so awkward at this moment? Yes, I don't understand poems, let alone compose them. The only thing Su Yilong could do was to agree with Xiaobei and return a smile. But no matter how she smiled, it was unnatural. Xiao Yuan's expression did not change much. Just like before, she pointed at the big tree again. The birds on the tree chirped. Looking up, the warm sun set in the east. Wild vegetables grow in the remote jungle, and new melons grow in the fertile soil of the hometown. Tianxing Ming crossed 1,000 rivers, and dreamt of the 100 Gorge last night. Singing nursery rhymes softly, sleeping early, and smiling like a flower in auspicious times. I miss home too. Auspicious times and auspicious times can call people, right? No, we can't come here for nothing. We have to find more things that can't be seen in the capital, and make them into specimens to bring back for our brothers and sisters to see. Are there any gems here? I don't know if they broke the pearls that I dropped last time. When Xiaobei heard Xiao Yuan's words, her eyes turned red. She sniffled and pulled Xiao Yuan along as she ran towards the place where Simo Domo lived. She felt that it was best to ask the local leader first. If there were any, they could use other seasonings to exchange for them. After all, the locals were stupid and could not eat gems. If they gave them something real, they would definitely be very happy. The 9 little guys ran to find Simo Domo and made a fair exchange with him. Su Yilong stood by the lake for a long time without moving. She understood what Xiao Yuan meant. She started with the same scenery and used 3 ways to tell him what it meant to go from simple to complex, and from complex to simple. There was no need for rhyme in the depths of love. Every word came from the heart. Using the simplest words to express the deepest meaning, this was the realm. As for herself, she was still in the process of going from simple to complex. She had not entered the stage of complexity. One day, she would use illusion and deliberately carve words and sentences to see Xiao Yuan's footsteps. Perhaps Xiao Yuan was still a little far from the truth, but he didn't need to carve anything. He said what he thought. It seemed like a habit, but it was actually accumulated to a certain extent. Su Yilong once again felt the terror of the 9 children of the Zhang family and Wang family. It seemed that her grandfather was right to send her over. Otherwise, she would still be flattering each other with the other officials of the same generation. She would be proud and complacent when she did something. Looking at the 9 little guys, they did a lot of things. When they met many tribes, they could immediately take the children to play and take good care of them. When she saw them every day, she felt that they were very happy. Of course, when she saw them happy, she was also happy. But thinking about it carefully, she realized that the places where they played every day were places where they were needed. When someone was sick or the work was not easy to do, they would immediately go over and help as if they were playing and chatting with the others. In other words, they took on the task of adjusting the atmosphere in the team. They had been infecting everyone with their happiness and innocence. They would also fall down and accidentally get scratched. Looking at them pouting and saying that it didn't hurt, the adults who were also injured seemed to feel that they didn't hurt, even if their injuries were more serious than the children. They can actually play a role in stabilizing the hearts of the troops and improving morale. They have never been a burden to the team. They never made others worry. Why did I only find out? Su Ilong said to himself in the lake. Then he was very annoyed. He thought that he was the only one who was useless. He couldn't do physical work, he didn't know how to cook, he couldn't bring happiness to others, and he didn't have the affinity that Xiaobei and the others had with the tribe's children. Damn, I'm actually a good for nothing. No, I have to follow and learn. Su Ilong strengthened his confidence. He was full of yearning for the outside world. He came to a conclusion. Once he followed the team to the end of this journey, he would learn 1,000th of the strengths of everyone in the team. When he went back and met the other officials of the same generation, those people would not be a threat to him. Just like Xiao Yuan's indifferent look when he was pulled away by Xiaobei after he finished his last poem. Xiaobei didn't take him seriously at all. It was really depressing. Chief Seymour Domo, where are you? Seymour Domo. Xiaobei and the others shouted. They were brought to the hall where Seymour Domo had invited Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Chief Seymour Domo, I see you again. Hello, what's that? I heard that you have a white jade beauty. When Xiaobei saw him, he first spoke with his hands behind his back and his feet moved. Chapter 1341. Xiaobei, come here. Where's Su Ilong? Without waiting for Xiaobei to finish, Wang Wan shouted first, then stared at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao seemed to be very wronged and said, there's only one sentence. The content is different. Don't you think this sentence is very domineering? I think it's very hooligan. It's the prelude to taking advantage of others. Xiaobei, why did you run over? Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao and hugged Xiaobei, who ran over. Xiaobei looked at Simo Domo he and said to his sister, it's all Xiao Yuan's fault. It would have been better to compete with Su Ilong in poetry, but he had to suppress her. He also had to choose the theme of homesickness, which made me homesick. Then I thought Jixiang Rui and the others can leave, right? They can call for help, right? I remember when I was young, I had such a big pearl and put it in the house. When I go back, should I bring them a bigger pearl? If they really can't find a big pearl, gemstones and the like will do. Naturally, I have to ask Leader Simo Domo he. I won't ask for it for free. We can use our ancestral secret seasonings to exchange. 13 spices. Usually we can't bear to eat it. For example, when they eat barbecued meat, we can put some. Brother. The latter part of the sentence was directed to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao nodded solemnly. Yes, the ancestral 13 spices. If they are willing to take out more things to show their sincerity, 18 spices is also fine. It's easy to eat curry. While they were talking, Xiao Yuan and the others had already started to communicate with Simo Domo he. Simo Domo he could speak the Tang language, so there was no problem in communication. I know my brother is the best. Of course my sister is also good. 18 spices? Why didn't I know? Xiaobei whispered to his brother and sister. That's because your brother has never used seasonings that are 13 spices, let alone 18 spices. Those are for people who don't know how to cook. Look at the chefs in our restaurant. Which one of them would grind seasonings into powder and add them to their dishes? Also, I asked you to teach Su Jian's grandson something. Look at how you bullied him. Can't you let him have some self-confidence? Wang Wan also said in a low voice. Xiaobei pouted. It's not that we're bullying him. It's just that he wants to gain confidence in his poetry through Xiaoyuan. If he were to look for me, Wouldn't there not be so much trouble? How stupid was he? Using one's own shortcomings to attack the enemy's strengths, so it's not that we bullied him, but that he didn't succeed in bullying little Yuan. Yes. It's all his fault. It's fine. People get used to it after a few more blows. Don't ask Seymour Demoga for anything. He is also a poor man. If you want gems, you can find jadeite in the places we pass by on our way here. Now is a good time. I think we can find jadeite the size of a house. Zhang Xiaobao could imagine how big of a blow Su Yilong had suffered. Not to mention her. Even he and Cuckoo sometimes had to memorize the information for their younger brother, little Yuan. When they needed to use it, they would ask him. 1% of talent was too powerful, and 99% of hard work could not make up for it. Of course, according to another theory, 100% of children had their own talent. It depended on the environment and the guidance of the adults. The simplest example was when a child was born. The right side of the brain was better developed. He used to use chopsticks with his left hand, but he was forced to use chopsticks with his right hand. Every time his left hand touched the chopsticks, he would hit it. After a long time, the child would not only change the hand that held the chopsticks, but it would also form a conditioned reflex to suppress the use of the right side of his brain. Then, the parents would say that their child was stupid. Was there any reason? Xiao Bei did not consider whether Su Yilong's heart was hurt. She was most interested in places with jadeite. She had jadeite jewelry of various colors, mainly red and green. No matter how she looked at it, it was more beautiful than glass. Brother, it's a mine, right? Our precious candy house. It involves too many lives and interests. Behind the beauty of every gem, there is blood. We will occupy the place where jadeite is produced, but we must stay away from our precious candy house. You can give every child a big cake, but it's impossible to make a jade bracelet for every child. The sweetest thing is the honey pastry of our precious candy house. The happiest way to eat it is to taste it with family. This is the true meaning of our precious candy house. It's not that the most beautiful thing is the jade bracelet of our precious candy house. The easiest way to get it is to gamble on raw stones. Our precious candy house has lost its soul at the same time that it has lost its care for its children. We let you participate in the animal husbandry industry, because you can get substantial things to help the children from this industry, such as milk and meat. The mining industry can't provide direct help to the children. It's nothing more than making money, and then using the money to buy the things the children need. It seems to be the same thing, but it's actually a different concept. As the owner of the candy house, when you see something, the first thing you think of should be what this thing is for the children, not how much this thing can be sold for. Then, you use the money to buy things for the children. After a long time, you will only remember money, but forget the most direct needs of the children. Everything will start to be measured by money, understand? Zhang Xiaobao patiently explained to his sister that it involved the inertia and philosophy of human thinking. Xiao Bei blinked his big eyes and thought for a while. He nodded and said, I understand. It's like when I fell and hurt my arm. The first thing you and big sister thought of when you saw me was, does Xiao Bei hurt? Was the fall serious? Instead of hearing that little Bei fell, you estimated that it would cost 5 strings of cash to treat her. Go, get someone to get 7 strings of cash. A fallen little Bei doesn't just need money. Even if the former doesn't have money, it's still love. Even if the latter has money, it's still indifference. Of course, it's even better if there's money and love. Once we participate in the mining industry, our thoughts will gradually turn to money. Zhang Xiaobao picked up his sister and placed her on his lap. He kissed her hard and said, Our little Bei is so smart. It can't be helped. She's always been smart. Who's as stupid as Su Yilong? 10 years. It'll probably take 10 years to catch up to the current little Yuan. If he starts practicing every day from now on, and works hard to learn, 5 years might be possible. Little Bei patted her chest and deeply agreed with her brother's words. Wang Wan finally asked about the specific situation. What did little Yuan do? Little Yuan let him know something about Buddhism, and something you guys talked about before. That is, seeing a mountain is a mountain, seeing water is water. Seeing a mountain is not a mountain, seeing water is not water. Seeing a mountain is a mountain, seeing water is water. According to what you guys said, the last one is to find it 1,000 times in the crowd. It was as if Xiao Bei had won the competition. He was overjoyed and delighted. Little Yuan is already so amazing? Wang Wan was a little surprised. She naturally knew what that was. 3 realms. In literature, very few people could reach the last realm. When you deliberately emphasized in writing, the reader would feel the beauty. When you didn't emphasize, the reader would forget the way you wrote and only remember the plot. Zhang Xiaobao spoke at this time. He's not that amazing. Little Yuan doesn't have enough life experience. He can't understand many things thoroughly just by relying on the knowledge in books. His success this time is because he chose the topic of homesickness. Even children know how to miss. That's why he made Su Yilong suffer a blow. Little Yuan, right? Yes. My little Yuan didn't write about the profundity of history. He simply expressed his longing for his younger brother and sister because he's not stupid. Little Bei understood everything. That was why she said a jingle and a nursery rhyme to cooperate with little Yuan. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other and stood up to walk out. Brother, where are you two going? Little Bei looked at Simo Domo when she asked. Didn't they want to discuss something with him? Zhang Xiaobao patted Little Bei's head. You guys talk to him. Your sister and I will take a look at Grandpa Su's grandson. Otherwise, when we go back and talk about it, I'm afraid your Grandpa Su will fall ill and be hospitalized. Okay, leave this to us. Little Bei agreed and ran to Simo Domo. Zhang Xiaobao just nodded at Simo Domo and then walked out with Wang Wan. Simo Domo, who was sitting there, was angry. He felt that he was left out. He looked at the children in front of him who were talking to him about a deal. He gritted his teeth and decided with a hint of revenge to get some benefits from the children. After that, if Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't agree, he would return the benefits. If the two of them didn't say anything, he would take it that they agreed. Compared to Simo Domo's complicated thoughts, Little Bei and the others were much simpler. They didn't think about who would get how much. They only felt that according to the actual situation of the local poverty, they would use 13 incense to exchange for other people's good things. Moreover, they were experienced and knowledgeable and could easily estimate the approximate value of each item. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who were outside, didn't know what Simo Domo was thinking. Otherwise, they would have kindly advised him not to play this kind of game with Little Bei and the others. That way, they would definitely be at a disadvantage. Not everyone could take advantage of the little guys. When the two of them found Su Yilong, they saw that Su Yilong was holding a basket that had just been carelessly woven with branches in one hand and a leek scythe in the other. The leek scythe was specially used to cut leeks. It was very easy to use. Once the scythe was cut, a bundle of leeks would fall. Moreover, it wouldn't hurt the roots. As long as you used your strength, it would definitely be a flat cut. The tool itself limited your normal movements, unless you deliberately cut in a crooked direction. When you encountered leeks with rotten roots, you could still dig downwards. With a gentle turn, the rotten roots would be dug out. Su Yilong was digging wild vegetables along the lake. When she encountered those that ate the top part, she would directly cut them. When she encountered those that ate the leaves, she would cut them close to the ground. When she encountered those that ate the roots, she would use the scythe to cut them out. For every wild vegetable, she would carefully shake off the soil, separate them, and carefully arrange them in the basket. What is he doing? Wang Wan looked at Su Yilong and realized that it was different from what she had thought before. She thought that Su Yilong should be sitting by the lake in a daze, listless. Zhang Xiaobao revealed a gratified smile. Digging wild vegetables. And then? Wang Wan asked. Then, she would comprehend life and settle down to do the little things around her, instead of looking at the clouds and fantasizing about flying. If Grandpa Su saw this, he would definitely be very happy. Zhang Xiaobao praised. So that's how it is. It seems that he isn't afraid of being shocked at all. He adjusted himself really quickly. Let's dig too. Boil the wild vegetables in boiling water and dip them in sauce. Wang Wan suggested. Zhang Xiaobao picked the wild vegetables with her. After an hour, Seymour Duomo walked out of the hall, looking very tired. Then there was an obvious dejected look. Xiao Bei and the others were still happily talking and laughing. It's over. Another person who has been shocked. I don't know if he can recover as quickly as the previous one. Zhang Xiaobao looked up, shook his head, and said to Wang Wan, I guarantee that he took the initiative to scheme against the little guys. Otherwise, it would be impossible. Wang Wan added, You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.